Welcome back to another edition of Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. We got a lot to get into, but not a lot of time to do it, so let's get right to it. The Cowboys, we'll talk about what they've done in the legal tampering period so far. We'll also get into the Texans and what the moves that they've made. We'll also get into Aaron Rodgers. The saga continues. Will he be a New York Jets? Jets. We'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. Talk about the winners and losers of the NFL legal tampering period. But of course, it is March. That means the madness is upon us. So we'll talk about the Texas Longhorns and their upcoming first round matchup versus Colgate. Also get into what all the experts are saying in their bracketological prognostication. Stole that from my man Craig Way about all the experts and all the buzz about Texas basketball. We'll get into that coming up in the top of the 4 o'clock. They also made history as it relates to the AP poll and the final ranking. We'll get into that and good news on the Timmy Allen front. All of that and more. Before we do, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He is one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. We call him the Idealionaire, but he's also the real MVP. Patrick Davis. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I've had a chance to watch a little Colgate film, so feeling a little bit better about Thursday, and so ready to get through this week and get to some March Madness.
The Raiders, right? They're the Raiders?
Yes.
The Colgate Raiders.
Colgate Raiders.
So we'll get into that. Yeah, and you are actually a Raider fan. So we'll get into the Raiders because the Raiders are making moves, too. We'll talk about
They're making moves all right.
Hey, I didn't say good moves or bad moves. I didn't say you was going to agree with the moves. They're just making some moves. We'll get into that too a little bit later on. We talk all around free agency, winners and losers. Actually, the free agency period hasn't technically started. It starts tomorrow. We are in the legal tampering period, and there's a whole lot of tampering going on. It's also top of the charts Tuesday, which is my favorite musically themed day of the week because it always broadens my horizons. I appreciate my man Patrick who helps me with that. You can help me with that because you actually are the pulse of this thing. You're the heartbeat of it. On the Specs text line, 512-337-3776. That's the number to the Specs text line. You also can reach out via Twitter. I'm at Rod Davis in the Twitterverse. Patrick Davis at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. Harch is still out, but he'll be back later on this week. But if you want to reach out to him, you can do so. Cyberstalk him via Twitter at Hardball Harch in the Twitterverse. All right, there's a lot of storylines to get to, but I think we should start here close to home, and then we'll kind of work our way from the micro to the macro and talk about what's happening all over the NFL. But there are some plenty of moves being made by the Texans and the Cowboys in the legal tampering period. We'll talk Texas basketball coming up next hour, top of the 4 o'clock and top of the 6 o'clock. We're off early today at 6:15 for Texas baseball. But before we do that, we'll get into a lot of Texas basketball conversation. The experts are making me feel good about building my bracket with a lot of drinking some burnt orange Kool-Aid with some burnt orange glasses on. And that's usually what I try to avoid, filling out the bracket. You know what I mean? I try to avoid that. But this year, just listening to all the experts, hey, they make you feel good about drinking some of that burnt orange Kool-Aid when it comes to the tournament. Hey, how many brackets you filling out? What's your methodology here? Just one?
One bracket.
You just one? Me too. I'm a single bracket guy too. Yeah.
I could because once I'm filling out more, it's just guessing.
It is
because there's a level of guessing you put into one, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm doing more, then it's like I can go chalk on one, and then one I go more upsets. But they're both messed up. I just go, look, there's gonna be a few upsets. I'm gonna try and get them, but mostly chalk, or mostly more chalk. It's not that complicated. But I'm too lazy to do a bunch that I don't want to. And it's not laziness of filling them out. I don't want to keep checking them.
And that's Zay says. I heard Zay say that he fills them out, but he does this. It's the same bracket. It's like he does the same picks, but he just fills out multiple brackets for different, companies and stuff like that.
So I filled out two. They're the same bracket.
Okay,
so someone else sends me a thing.
Yes.
My picks are my picks.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'm not filling out more than one bracket, and I'm not going to make more than one bracket. I'm going to do the one here on the horn.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I filled out my one on the horn.
That's when I fill out the one on the horn. That is my bracket. I'm done with it. I don't fill out any other brackets because I don't want to get that emotionally invested. I'm with you. It's similar to fantasy sports for me. Like fantasy football is like I became too obsessed. You guys know I love rabbit holing, doing research. I can't do fantasy sports. It takes over my life. I can't do it. All right.
You and Matt Butler being
I can't. Oh, I can't.
Shed somewhere.
Dude, exactly, man. And that guy's, basically, he's one of the best fantasy minds I know. I don't even know what Matt Butler does. I think he's just a fantasy guy. I don't know what you put on your tax form for that. Fantasy guy, balling. You know what I mean? I don't know what you do. Like
Fantasy guy, parentheses, not Dungeons and Dragons.
That's what I don't even know. Yeah, exactly. If you're a gamer, what do you put on your? How do you fill out your taxes that's coming up? It's a new era right there. I don't know.
New era.
New stuff going on. OnlyFans, actually. That's some new stuff, too. All right. Boom. Get that. Fill out your tax forms.
Yeah.
Be your own boss. It's good. I guess it's
the way to do it.
I guess it's just simple. It's probably just an independent contractor type thing.
I imagine so.
I imagine so.
I don't have to worry about that right now, so I'm not an influencer of any type.
No, you don't have to worry about that. All right, let's get to NFL's legal tampering period. We'll start with the Cowboys, then we'll work our way to the Texans, and then we'll next segment we'll actually talk about the Aaron Rodgers saga because apparently Aaron Rodgers has delivered a wish list of demands. I don't even know how to phrase it, of players he'd like to play with that will potentially build his circle of trust if he became a New York Jet. I'm not right.
That's real. It's
real. This is real. This is
like, how many red flags can I put up before I'm there?
Hey, no, you don't care about the red flags. This is the hot to crazy ratio thing. All right. As long as she's not crazier than she is hot, it's okay. Aaron Rodgers is still just as hot as he is crazy. So you'll put up with the crazy as long as you got the hot. But as soon as she's crazier than she is hot, you need to cut ties. That's
like, hey, man, we have this we got this young, talented team that's going ahead. And he goes, all right, can we raise the average age of this team by at least 10 years? Because I don't want to hang out with anyone under the age of 25.
Pretty much. Hey,
come on.
He's getting. Hey, this is what you do for celebrities.
Don't go to the Jets.
This is the same thing when celebrities demand they won't do a show unless all the M&Ms backstage are the same color.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that.
It's not that different. It's just like, hey, it's idiosyncrasies. It's just,
the M&M's thing, right?
No, I've heard of this with different. I don't know if it's where did it originate.
So it was Van Halen had it on their thing of no brown
demands,
M&Ms,
like their list.
The whole thing was that it was in a list of writers of all the lights they needed and sound equipment and monitors. And as soon as they walked backstage, if the M&Ms were wrong, they knew they had to check everything else because they didn't read the writer. So it was done it wasn't done in a sense of like, ooh, they're prima donnas. It was done by a person who was a technical guy to be like, I can tell the minute I walk in if they have read everything and done everything to spec, or if I have to check everything.
I like that.
So there is a reason behind the madness of that one.
That was brilliant.
Aaron Rodgers just wants friends.
Well, how do you know it's How do you know that's not some
because Randall Cobb is part of it.
Could be a brilliant strategy behind what Aaron Rodgers is doing too.
Trying to get his friends a payday.
You know what? Hey, if I'm one of the friends, I love it. Don't you want to be one of Aaron Rodgers' friends now?
Randall Cobb's like, look, man, I could use a couple more mil, but dude, I wanted to retire like 3 years ago.
Hey, I got some great friends, but that's a damn good one who was just like, hey, man, y'all got to sign my friend or I won't come here. Like,
you could be. They're like, sign Rob Babers at quarterback and be like, he been out of league for a while.
Me and Shannon are besties. He ain't never said that. He's the head coach of a football team. He'd be like, hey, my boy need a job. If he don't get a job, then
and he has traded a lot of draft picks.
Exactly. So I get it. All right, let's talk about the Cowboys real quick because this is an interesting turn of events. Now, I'll admit I didn't think this was going to happen. I thought the Cowboys would let him at least test the free agent market first and then try to potentially lowball him, or at least try to get a bargain at the safety position, which they always try to do. But Donovan Wilson has re-signed with the Cowboys on a 3-year, $24 million deal, essentially $13.5 million guaranteed for the first 2 years. So essentially it is a 2-year deal. You look at the NFL, it's all about guaranteed money. The rest of it is a fugazi, a wazi, a woozy. You don't even pay attention to it. Fake dollars. But the meat of the deal is 2 years, which makes sense because the other two safeties for the Cowboys, I believe, were on 2-year deals as well. Remember they signed J. Run Curse and Malik Hooker? I believe they went 2-year deals. And now this year they're on the last year of those 2-year deals. So this is kind of what they want to do. So like I said, the meat of it is basically a 2-year deal. And you're essentially paying a little under $7 million per year for Donovan Wilson, who's a guy that's homegrown. Cowboys, we like our guys. All right, they love their guys. He does have that option for that 3rd year. I believe the salary goes up, and it may be worth it. But you guys have heard me talk about this with these Dallas Cowboys, and when you live in a salary cap league like the NFL is, you essentially, it's a fixed budget. You have to be very judicious about where you spend your dollars. It's like when you go to the grocery store, right? You can't just get Oreos and Bud Light and like, nah, man, I gotta get the meat, gotta get the bread, gotta get the cheese, gotta get the necessities first, and then I'll decide, what, I'm gonna get the name brand of this because that matters. I need the name brand of cortisone, but I can get the generic version of this and save a little money. The GMs are making the same decisions you're making. Except they're on the grocery store, except it's the NFL in that commodities market. So for the Cowboys, they've always decided, for the most part, that safety is where they will skimp. That's where they'll go get the generic brand. They're not going to spend a lot of money on the safety position or spend a lot of draft capital on the safety position. The evidence is Cowboys have only spent one draft pick in the top 125 on any draft on a safety since 2002. Since 2013, 75% of the NFL have picked at least one safety in the first or the second round. Cowboys are one of the 8 teams who have not done that. They just don't spend, and they like to get their Donovan Wilson, right? Late round draft pick, 6th round or whatever pick, I believe. That's where they like to get their safeties, or on the open market, a Jayron Kearse, who's a project, right? He needs to have his career resuscitated or revived. Same thing with a Malik Hooker, high upside guy, drafted really high, but he needs to have his career resuscitated because of injury, whatever. They're looking for a discount. They're looking for value there. So I assumed, just based on the Cowboys' history with safety, they're definitely going to let Donovan Wilson explore the free agent market, maybe tell his agent, hey, we'll match any offer. Let us know what the offer is. We need to match that offer, so give us a chance to match. They didn't do that. Jane Slater reported yesterday they really wanted Donovan Wilson, and I believe this is the Dan Quinn influence. This is Dan Quinn's influence on the organization. We know it's a clear pattern with safety. All Cowboys fans out there, you've noticed it as well. I just gave you the stats on it. They don't really believe in putting a lot of capital draft-wise, salary cap-wise, in the safety position. They want to get a bargain there. This is different, and this is Dan Quinn's schematic philosophy, which is he plays a lot of 3 safeties, what they call big nickel, big dime. That means 3 safeties with your either 2 corners or 3 safeties with your 2 corners and a slot corner, right? And so big dime, big nickel, big dime is 6 DBs, nickel is 5 DBs. He plays 3 safeties over 40% of the time. Arguably, the Cowboys play 3 safeties more than any team in the league. And arguably, right now, think about it. With Von Bell leaving the Cincinnati Bengals, right, and Jesse Bates too, right, both of those big safeties. The Cowboys, arguably, maybe the Bills are in this conversation. Well, but then Jordan Poyer, isn't he?
Yeah,
is he a free agent
still? And
I don't know where he's going or if he's signed anywhere or not. But those were the only 2, in my opinion, safety combinations that were, in the same conversation with the Cowboys. I believe the Seattle Seahawks have 2 really good safeties. I like Quandre, and they got Jamal Adams, but he's never healthy. But the Cowboys have one of the best safety corps in the league, and it's 3 of them. And they've all been like resuscitated careers or just, projects, if you will, reinventions of careers. And it's mostly because of Dan Quinn's system. He believes in positionless football, and one of the big ways to implement positionless football is with safeties because they're so versatile by nature. You need them to do so much, just responsibility-wise. Got to put them in the box. They blitz. You need them to play man coverage. You need to play zone coverage. They got to play in the back end. They got to end up lining up sometimes on running backs and tight ends to cover them, or even wide receivers. They got to do so much. They are, by nature, the most versatile defenders on the field. And basically, Dan Quinn has just doubled down on that and decided, you know what, no, we are really going to invest in safety. It's going to make us more multiple. I was listening to the GM for the Seattle Seahawks, John Schneider. He said the same thing. He was like, no, safety is key for us. And they invest a lot of money in safety, obviously, Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. Because he said, no, we need versatility defensively. I've always said positionless football is the future of football. Dan Quinn definitely believes in that. Him and Michael Parsons, the Keanu Neal acquisition, last season or 2 years ago, I should say. And the way that he wants to use his safeties and even some of the other guys, the other pieces he's drafted since he's been there. Israel Makiyamu is one of those pieces too. So I think it is a Dan Quinn influence decision, and I love it. It just shows you the Cowboys are being malleable. Usually, I don't think they would spend some. It's not a lot of money, actually. I think it makes him right now. Malik Hooker and Jayron Kearse are probably the 28th and 33rd highest paid safeties in the league, something like that. Like they're not. And then he would be higher paid than those guys, so he'd probably be somewhere maybe close to cracking the top 20, maybe. But it's not a lot of money when you think about it. It's just more than the Cowboys usually would spend.
Yeah. No, it's a good move by them. I think we've seen that a lot at the beginning of the free agency market is we haven't seen as much of the offers on those cash over cap or big contract signings that you maybe expect to happen kind of quicker. But we've seen a lot more deals in this variety of guys being like, hey, let's shore up our team with all these other pieces, guys that maybe it seems like we're paying them a little over, but we're also not even getting close to big money.
Yep.
And that's teams just seem to be wanting to stay away from any big money deals at this part of free agency because we haven't seen. And so a lot of the top guys are still sitting out there. Like you just said, Jordan Poyer, who's probably a top safety out there, hasn't been touched yet. But I think that's because he wants the most money. And teams are trying to figure, hey, what's the gap between this guy and this guy? The Cowboys looked, and Dan Quinn probably went in and went, guys, I hate to tell you this. There's a long drop-off if we don't keep him, and we're right in top safety category with him, and we can get him for this amount of money. What he's asking for is not insane. I know it's more than you want to pay, but trust me, this is not a bet. We're getting a deal.
Yeah, and I think he listened to him. I think you hit the nail on the head. He listened to him, and he said, yeah, man, all right, you know what? Dan Quinn knows what he's doing. Obviously, look at the defense. Last 2 years, you have led the NFL in takeaways, by the way. First team to do that since the Steel Curtain did it. I'm not making it up. That's a real stat. So and a lot of that is a pre-snap disguise, all right, confusing, discombobulating quarterbacks, and a lot of that is your hard-hitting safeties, which we all know ITES Donovan Wilson was, coming up making plays. And I bet if we looked at those takeaways and between those three safeties, how many of those takeaways were between those three safeties, it would be a really, really, but you would see that it's a huge factor and a variable in terms of how Dan Quinn wants to construct the defense overall. He emphasizes the safety position, like I said, probably more than anybody in the league right now. And that's why they're paying all those guys. But they're on shorter deals. And I wonder, and I think they signed Donovan Wilson because at one point they're going to have to make a decision about Malik Hooker and Jayron Kearse because next year both of those guys are going to be free agents. And they're not going to sign both of them. But I think they like guys like Israel Makiyamu. I think they just believe they need more time. And we don't know, Dan Quinn, the future of the Cowboys, too.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing is we don't know if, we don't know who the head coach will be next season. We don't know if Dan Quinn will still be there or he will move on if they decide to keep Mike McCarthy. So there's a lot of questions open-ended going into next season. But for the Cowboys, I think this is a big one that we haven't heard much from Leighton Vander Esch camp or from anyone else.
That's the next one.
So that's the other one where you go, can you get him on the right deal? And then at that point, you lost McGovern. You know Schultz is probably going to be gone because he's just asking for more money than they want to give up for him. But if you can get those two back, I think you're starting to be on the right path.
Yeah, the Cowboys, you just mentioned Connor McGovern. He's gone. He's going to go into Buffalo, signing a deal with them. Luke Gifford, linebacker for the Cowboys, he's signing a deal with Tennessee, or at least he's agreed to terms with them. So he's going to be gone, too. And how about Noah Brown? Speaking of, we can help us in transition right to the Texans. Noah Brown signing with the Houston Texans. Houston Texans, they had a lot of salary cap space, and they are making a lot of moves.
Yeah, trying to fill a lot of holes.
They really are.
Which they had a lot to fill, so.
Oh, yeah, man, like a sinking ship.
So it makes sense what they're doing to just kind of be smart with it, not make any big splashes right now. And I think this is depending on what they do in the draft, let's see how this season goes to decide how much we're going to invest in the future next season, offseason, when they have 2 first-rounders again.
And once they figure out who the quarterback is or if they're going to invest in the quarterback. But they did. They brought in a veteran quarterback. So other moves they made, Texans fans at least have a lot to – I don't feel a lot to be excited about, but at least your team's making a lot of moves. You have a lot to keep up with. So they did sign Case Keenum – or sorry, not officially – they agreed to terms with Case Keenum on a 2-year deal. And Patrick, like you said, all these are 2-year, 1-year deals. So they're not making any real commitments just yet to anybody they're bringing in. Via the draft, they are, but not in free agency. So they brought in Case Keenum to be the backup. They also brought in Noah Brown, as we mentioned. He's on a 1-year deal. Or at least he's agreed to terms to be on a 1-year deal. Robert Woods, too. So they're beefing up their wide receiving core with Robert Woods. He's signed a 2-year, or at least he's agreed to a 2-year deal with the
I believe
Texans.
Robert Woods is actually signed because he was waived last season. So I believe he can sign before other teams.
Oh,
so
nice.
I think he signed before this Monday because he was cut by the Titans.
Nice.
So
Okay.
he falls into a different class of free agent.
All right, there you go. So he gets, I think it's like a signing bonus of $6.5 million, and then he gets it's a $2 million salary. So most of his money comes in the signing bonus, and I think it jumps up his salary in 2024 to about $6 million. So the wide receiving core for the Texans, you got Noah Brown and Robert Woods, John Mechie, hopefully coming back from he had cancer, I believe, right?
Leukemia, yes.
Yeah, leukemia. And he's coming back from that after beating it. And Nico Collins is also a part of this group. You don't know about Philip Dorsett, don't know about Chris Moore. I think both of those guys are free agents. So that's the wide receiving core.
And Brandon Cooks, we
And Brandon
assume will
Cooks.
be traded.
You assume, but yeah, right now we don't know. We don't know what the market is. So yeah, Brandon Cooks, the trade, Brandon Cooks, that's a big one too. I think I don't know. His salary is very.
It is,
bloated,
but
though.
you need to as from the reports I keep hearing about stuff about how tied he was into this Jack Easterby era, and that there was issues with him and Lovey, and that it's basically he has just been very unhappy to be there since they've moved on and started to rebuild, and he just hasn't been happy. You at a certain point you have to cut bait. I know you wish you could get him out there. And, in the first 6 games of the season, really feature him and get a big draft pick for him. I just don't know if it's going to happen with that salary. So if you want the draft pick, you're going to have to take back a lot of that salary.
You can pay
or you can just ditch the whole, try and ditch as much as you can and take a lower draft pick.
They're going to have to take a loss. They got to take an L with that one and take on some of the salary.
And that's you're signing 1-2-year deals with everybody. I get you are still in the rebuilding phase.
And you got the cap space.
So why are you putting somebody there who may be a negative influence on some of these young players and teaching them the wrong way to go about complaining about the team and not being happy with workouts and not you don't want to have that influence on a young locker room.
Yeah, DeMeco Ryans may force their hand here and say, "Hey, man, I'm building a culture here. Get this guy out of here." If he
don't want to be here, he don't have to be here.
He's been a player before. He's like, "I've been a player before. Trust me, I've probably been in that situation where he didn't want to be somewhere. Let that guy go and take the L." So. In addition to the Noah Brown, Robert Woods signing, I love the trade for Shaq Mason, the right guard. So the Bucks traded Shaq Mason and a 7th-round pick to the Texans for a 6th-round pick, and he was traded from the Patriots 2 years ago, I believe, to the Bucks, and then the Bucks are trading him to Texans. He's still a really good player. Allowed just 3 sacks in 2022, and is a really good pass blocker, better pass blocker than a run blocker, but just 29.
Yeah. No, and it's basically everybody's just trying to ditch contracts, and the Texans have some cap room right now.
Yeah.
So, again, I like that the wide receivers, they're trying to help,
Whoever
shore
the
up this whole
QB's gonna
line.
be.
You get an Andrew Beck, who's a really good run blocker and can be a pass blocker in situations. You're adding pieces in there to protect whoever this quarterback you're getting is.
Yeah, because your run game is going to be the identity of your offense. Even if you get a young quarterback, it should be, because Dameon Pierce has already proven he's a proven commodity, I should say.
Yeah.
And I don't know about Rex Burkhead and Royce Freeman. They'll probably be free agents, so they're going to be gone. Texans will probably draft a running back in this draft, actually, somewhere in this draft. They have the backup, Dare Ungabawale. He's also a backup, and they signed, or at least they're agreed to terms, to Mike Boone, who's a running back who's been with, I think he was with the Broncos for a while, but he more of a special teams player, but provides depth at the running back. They also re-signed Scott Quisenberry on the offensive line, and you mentioned Andrew Beck already, Patrick, and Hassan Ridgeway, lifetime Longhorn. Yes. Hassan Ridgeway signing with the Texans on a 1-year deal, agreeing to terms on a 1-year deal for $4 million, $3 million of that guaranteed, and he started 7 games last year with the 49ers under DeMeco Ryans, so DeMeco Ryans knows him really well, and he's going to add a lot. Also, speaking of DeMeco Ryans, they signed Jimmy Ward, or at least, like I said, agreed to terms with Jimmy Ward, the nickel slot defensive back for the Texans, but was with the 49ers, and he has agreed to a 2-year deal, around $13 million guaranteed. So 6.5. He's right around where the Cowboys just signed Donovan Wilson. I mean, the numbers, if you kind of break out the basic numbers, they're around the same thing. And I think he wanted to get out of San Fran. He thought he was being played out of position. They had him in the nickels. He pretty much can play any position in the secondary if you need him to. Need him to play safety, he can play safety. I think that's what he prefers. They had him at nickel, slot corner. He can go out there and play cornerback too. He really is a versatile defender. So that's a smart pickup by DeMeco Ryans and the Texans. I'm a little upset though. They did let Obo Okoronkwo. They let him get away to Cleveland. This guy was legit. Like I'm telling you, he was like a really a great find for the Texans. Cleveland, I believe, agreed to terms with him on a 3-year deal for $12.5 million. But listen to some of these numbers. He was top 10. He was top 10 in terms of an edge rusher by Pro Football Focus in pass rush grade, pass rush win rate. Say that 5 times fast. Pass rush win rate, pressure percentage, third highest pressure rate in the NFL among his position behind Micah Parsons and Trey Hendrickson. Like he was really good for the Texans. And he didn't even, I think he actually didn't even start his first game until week 11. They kept rotating him. Really good player for the Texans. I thought they would try to keep him. They decided not to try to keep him.
So if you're now looking at the Texans, looking ahead to the draft, and there's still free agency, they can go get guys. I'm looking at positions where they still have glaring holes. You quarterback, of course.
No, so many.
But offensively now it's maybe tight end, maybe another wide receiver in there offensively, and then defensively you want another edge, you want probably another linebacker in there. But the secondary is starting to take shape. The inside D line is probably taking shape. So you're talking about edge, linebacker.
Yeah.
And on that end, you're not having too many places where you really have to stretch in the draft to try and get somebody because you kind of put in place stopgaps for a couple years while you build up that draft class.
Secondary looks good. Jalen Petre's going to be a hell of a player. I mean, he had 147 tackles last year, 99 solo tackles. I mean, 30. He led the NFL in missed tackles too, but he was really, really active for them. 8 PBUs, 5 tackles for loss, 1 sack. I mean, he was just a really, really active player for them. And they have Derek Stingley, who we'll assume once he's healthy is also going to live up to expectation. And now you're adding, a really, really key piece for them, like I said, a versatile piece in Jimmy Ward. I'm with you. I love the way the secondary looks right now. I think they should have kept, like I said, Okoronkwo. He was good. Like I said, nobody really. I mean, you go look at it because he was on a 1-year deal because everybody's on a one or 2-year deals with the Texans. 36 pressures, 25 quarterback hurries, all career highs. Like I said, he was considered one of the top 4 or 5 best pass rushers in terms of pressure rate from the edge. I thought they should have tried to keep that guy. Probably would have been cheap, but Cleveland is where he agreed to go, and $12.5 million guaranteed. Probably more than Nick Caserio wanted to play at this point, considering, hey, we're rebuilding. I don't want to pay that much for foundational pieces just yet. But it's only a 3-year deal, but the market. The market dictates.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back. We'll get into Aaron Rodgers' latest saga as well. His demands for the Jets free agent winners and losers already in the NFL legal tampering period. Coming up top of the 4 o'clock, we talk NCAA tournament. The experts love the burnt orange. They got all of us drinking Kool-Aid. All of that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 1049 The Horn. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. My man Patrick plays jams. I reached the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. Always broadens my horizons. Easily the most eclectic of our musically themed days of the week. Appreciate you putting in the work, Patrick. You can be a part of the show. Hit us up. Specs Text on 512-337-3776. We'll talk a little Aaron Rodgers here. That saga continues. Also, we'll get into some of the other storylines that have come from the legal tampering period and some of the winners and losers already in the NFL's legal tampering period. So Aaron Rodgers, at least reportedly, from Diana Rossini, who does a great job, and she's at Diana ESPN, and she reported earlier today, a few hours ago, Aaron Rodgers has provided the New York Jets with a wish list of free agents he would like them to target and acquire, per sources. That wish list includes Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard, Mercedes Lewis, and Odell Beckham Jr., who reportedly wants $20 million a year, which is absurd.
A lot for a guy who has not played in over a year.
That is absurd. Like, did he have two major knee surgeries, knee injuries in the last few years? No, I don't understand. Anyway, but off topic. I digress. Getting back to it. Okay, so he's got a wish list here. List of demands, wish list. Depends on, what side of the aisle you're on when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. I think this is going to happen. At the Jets, you're too far down. You're too far down the rabbit hole now. You're just too far down the line on this thing. And I don't know if they have contingency plans. I don't know if the Jets as an organization are, I don't know if they are well organized enough to build in some fail-safes for this Aaron Rodgers saga. Because he always could decide, no, I'm staying in Green Bay or I'm just retiring. We know he likes the attention. I do think there's substance to this. There's no question. And most of the insiders believe this thing is already pretty much a done deal, that everything else is just working out the details. But it's still nothing official. And if you're the Jets, man, you start acquiring pieces and you don't know for sure if he is coming, that's basically front office malpractice.
Well, and here's the thing. So I believe they've already agreed to terms with Allen Lazard. The rumor is they've already got Allen Lazard agreed to terms. Your other two, Randall Cobb is 32 years old, has had trouble finding a job other than with Aaron Rodgers. Mercedes Lewis is a 38-year-old tight end. You can probably get him. So OBJ is the only guy that now you have to really go negotiate with. Because of those other two, if you get Allen Lazard, you should be able to call up Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis and be like, give us a realistic number for a 1-year, 2-year deal. And we can work from there. But give us a realistic number. Because Randall Cobb was picked up by the Cowboys a few years ago and let go.
I remember
because he wasn't able to play. I don't think anyone's picking him up unless Aaron Rodgers gets for him. Mercedes Lewis again played for the Green Bay Packers a couple years. He's 38 at a tight end. That is a old tight end.
Hey, like you said, he wants his circle of trust.
He does. I'm just saying,
people he trusts.
Those are those guys. I could see those guys being easy to get.
Yeah.
OBJ seems not only like it would be hard to get. It seems like a dumb idea with this young team to basically say, hey, our young wide receivers who are really good and played well last year, you guys aren't going to play this year because he's got to have his guys in. He doesn't want to throw to you. Because if that's the case, then don't trade for him. Go get Matt Stafford for cheaper and play with your guys, and you'll be good still. Like, I get it's Aaron Rodgers, but if it's Aaron Rodgers and not the Jets, if it's the Green Bay Packers didn't make the playoffs last year. So I don't want that. I want the Jets, who are young and athletic and exciting, plus a good quarterback, not, hey, let's throw out a 38-year-old tight end and see how he can do.
Best draft class in the NFL last year. Yeah. Basically. I mean, that was it really was. I mean, they basically had the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year and NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Extremely talented draft class coming in. So the Jets should be good for a while, and they want to expedite that process. They believe getting Aaron Rodgers is the best way to do that. I don't necessarily disagree with that. If Aaron Rodgers is on his game with the talent they have, they got top 10 defense. and all you got to do is bring in weapons offensively. You can do that. People will want to come play with Aaron Rodgers. I don't necessarily, his wish list, I'm not a big fan of. I think you can get better pieces than his wish list of players that he has there. But whatever makes Aaron Rodgers feel comfortable, a big part of it is Aaron Rodgers, his psyche, right? And him, I would say that there is some fragility to his psyche. You want to make sure he's comfortable. That's why they got Nathaniel Hackett there, right? That's one of his BFFs. That's one of his buddies. And if he wants a couple more buddies there, bring those guys in. Have somebody he can hang out with, that he can go to the bars with, whatever it is he wants to do, hang out and kick it. He needs, like I said, he needs a circle of trust. Give it to him. It's fine. I think at this point, you're too far along. You're all in.
Yeah.
The Jets are all in at this point.
How did OBJ get in the circle of trust?
I have no idea how he wiggled his way in, but good for him. Now, I didn't even know him and Aaron Rodgers was that close, but apparently there are pictures now that are resurfacing of him and Aaron Rodgers hanging out, kicking it. I didn't know that was a thing.
These guys.
Like I said, the NBAification of this is the NBAification of the NFL.
You're going to invest
I've been talking about it.
$70 million of your salary cap into Aaron Rodgers and Odell Beckham Jr. on a team with with young talent.
And you hit in the draft, which is basically more than half the battle, but the quarterback is the other half of the battle.
Yeah.
And they just need the quarterback, but you're right. They're gonna.
And again, I'd be calling the Ravens right now, just being like, hey, you know what? Isn't a head case? Lamar Jackson guy.
Well, speaking of, I'm glad you brought it up. You know what? We got to get into this because this report just came out today from NFL.com is where I got it. So I trust NFL.com. So they're taking this from social media because Lamar Jackson is not speaking publicly, but he's dropping hints and clues on social media, a ton of that. So he's not speaking publicly, but he's dropping a lot of clues. So apparently there was an article that was published in a paper. Paper. Man, I sound like an old man. That was published online about Lamar Jackson, and this article hinted that he turned down or basically rejected a $200 million deal. The article came from the BaltimoreBeatdown.com. I don't even know what BaltimoreBeatdown.com is, but it's sure it's a Ravens site. And they claimed he turned down $200 million fully guaranteed deal, by the way. Fully guaranteed deal is what it says here. And he says, no, I turned down, or at least on social media. He says 133 over 3 years, fully guaranteed. There's some emojis thrown in here. I'm going to save you that. But I need an agent, ? So I guess he's hinting that he turned down a 3-year, $133 million fully guaranteed deal, as opposed to what they said was a $200 million deal.
Which $200 million makes you assume it's 5 years, right?
I would assume so. I didn't read the article. I didn't read the Baltimore Beatdowns article, so I'm not sure
because
exactly what they
if
said.
we're also looking at the number that Lamar Jackson said, that's about 45 a year. So it has to be 5 years of $200 million guaranteed money.
I'm with you on that.
Because if you're saying anywhere near $200 million guaranteed money, that has to be 5 years. Because I don't think they're giving him 4-year, $50 million.
That's good. I'm with you on that. So the 3-year, $133 million guaranteed, considering the precedent that has been said about guaranteed money for quarterbacks, it would be a lowball offer for him if that was the offer he turned down.
Yeah, I mean that would put him a little bit around. You'd be around the Daniel Jones deal, it just with more guaranteed money, but around so same value as Daniel Jones, more guaranteed money.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Which one of them was an MVP, one of them didn't before. One was an MVP before the other one didn't get his 5th-year option picked up. It's mind-boggling.
It's a low ball offer, but like I said, the Ravens are playing this masterfully. I mean, it is business.
I think they're playing it well, but I don't think they're playing it well for the end game they want. Like, because I think
I don't know what their end game is. I don't know if the end game is they don't want Lamar Jackson. They just want to, because they're not right now. He's a woman scorned. You're never going to be able to get him back to be all in on the Ravens now.
Yeah.
That's it.
Not with this ownership or not with this management and coach and all that. Yeah,
so I'm saying, like, I think that is done. You've broken the trust. It's done. So I'm thinking now they just want to, wear him out for as long as they can, for as cheap as they can.
Jeez. It is
Wait,
terrible.
I can't think
Yeah.
of. Like, I'm just trying
No,
to think
it
of
does.
why.
It seems like what they really wanted him to do was they don't respect him enough, and they thought, hey, he's going to go out and sign this other deal to try and get past us, and we'll just match it, and he has to play for us.
And exactly. I think the primary part of that phrase, he has to play for them. No player wants to feel like they have to play for an organization.
No.
They want to feel like, no, I like playing for this organization. I want to commit myself to this cause, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and there's we're talking now. Was it Jeremy Fowler? I believe it was, who said he believes that he's not going to sign the franchise.
No, I mean,
Tag
at this
at all.
point, I think it's better. I just, if you're the Ravens, I don't, like, this seems like one of those things where it could really hurt you down the road of trying to sign other free agents, where they just get a reputation of, oh, yeah, no, you guys don't want to pay players. Like, you'd rather us all play for free and get brain damage. That's what you want in Baltimore. And if you start having players start thinking that, it becomes harder and harder to build a team, because then when you're like, hey, can I get that deal? They're like, why would I give you a deal? You guys suck.
Yeah, the Ravens spent the fewest salary cap dollars on the offensive side of the ball in the last 4 years. So they didn't help Lamar Jackson out there. And they spent the second fewest salary cap dollars on the wide receiver position in the last few years. So it's, yeah, because you can have it, you can go either way, though. You can say, hey, man, they didn't do that because they don't trust Lamar Jackson, to build an offense around him, whatever. I think they've done a disservice to having a unique elite quarterback in his prime, and they should have just went all in on him. And they did, but not monetarily, not financially, not salary cap wise. They didn't. They did mold the offense to his specific skill set, which was brilliant, and that paid off for him. It paid huge dividends for him. I think they should have doubled down and even got him more weapons and drafted more weapons around him. They did not do that. They were more cheap than frugal, which is a lesson to the NFL's free agency anyway. Any free agency, mostly NFL's. You could be frugal, but don't be cheap. Spend wisely. Don't be cheap about it. Cowboys are probably more cheap than frugal. We'll come back. We'll get into the flex on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Everybody knows my favorite tequila is Hot Cat Tequila. It's my go-to tequila. The cat stands for cinnamon, agave, and tequila. And the recipe, just as simple, just as brilliant. It's just cinnamon, agave, nectar, and tequila. That's why it's so light. That's why it's so smooth. Sometimes it's a little too smooth, actually. That's why it's a tequila lover's dream. And if you're not a fan of tequila, well, try some Hot Cat Tequila. It'll make you a fan of tequila. Hot Cat Tequila will turn any event into a party, and every party feels like a celebration. So celebrate and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. Once you try Hot Cat, you can't go back to that old cinnamon whiskey or that cheap tequila you were ordering rounds of. So turn up your party with Hot Cat Tequila. It's the perfect way to pregame for any big game, concert, festival, or a night on the town with family and friends. Best served cold for a quick round of shots or to sip on the rocks. So visit cattequila.com. That's cattequila.com to find a store near you that sells Hot Cat Tequila or to find a bar near you that serves Hot Cat Tequila. Toast and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. Top of the charts Tuesday, right here on Ball Don't Lie. We'll get into some tournament conversation. I'm still doing research on my tournament selections and my bracketological prognostications, as Craig Way would say. Still doing some research on that, and we'll start diving deep down that rabbit hole tomorrow and on Thursday. Thursday, as a matter of fact, we're out amongst the people. Matt Patrick's going to be out there as well. We're going to be at Twin Peaks, the Round Rock location, and we're going to start up the pregame actually. Craig Way, of course, will have your pregame right before Texas takes on Colgate, but we'll start the pregame. We'll be live out there, so if you need somewhere to come watch the games, somewhere to stick it to the man, all right, and just come hang out for during the day and have a long lunch that turns into an early exit from work, you can come hang out with us at Twin Peaks. You need a spot. It's the Round Rock location. That's where we'll be. Patrick will be out there on the spot, too. He'll be there. He won't just be here at the compound.
Yes, I'll be out there. Yeah, 3 to 5:30, Ball Don't Lie, 5:30 to 6, extended pregame, 6 o'clock pregame with Craig Way. He will be in Des Moines, Iowa, bringing it to you. And I believe right after that game is the A&M Penn State game, I think is when it is.
No, you're right. You're right, because Chad, our resident Aggie, was talking about that, too. He's like, all right, I'm coming out there, but I think he's going to come out basically later because he's coming out to watch the Aggies. He just don't want to admit that. But
he's like, oh, they can make fun of me.
Yeah, so I think he's coming out to watch the Aggies because, they're taking on Penn State, right?
Yes, they're taking on Penn State, and that's you got to watch that one because that would be the next matchup for Texas, whoever wins that one. Well, but yeah, that'll be a fun time to be out there.
The decision makers are going to be very disappointed if Penn State wins because they basically decided to screw over the Aggies just to get that second round matchup.
They're right if they screwed over the Aggies and they lose, right? So they're either right or they're happy, one or the other.
Aggies do not. That's a good point. If you're Longhorn fans are always rooting against the Aggies. I am one of the few Longhorns who roots for the state of Texas unless they're playing the University of Texas. Then I root against them, of course. I root for Texas. But unless they're playing Texas, I actually can root for A&M in Towns. I can root for the conference. I'm one of those guys, so don't hit me up on the Specs text line with the ridicule and the criticism. So I am actually rooting for the Aggies in that matchup because I do want to see Texas versus Texas A&M. Who doesn't want to see that? Don't you always? I want Texas to have the satisfaction of beating the Aggies.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Part of me wants that.
Sometimes,
and part of me wants them to just play a 15 overtime game.
Well, that's fine too. I don't mind that. I just want the Aggies a 15 overtime game and then the Aggies win. No, because I want to see Longhorns beat the Aggies, and I know most people they don't care. They just want to see the Aggies miserable. They don't care who's making the Aggies miserable. It's easy to be miserable Aggies and Aggie tears are all they need to see, and they're fine with that. I'm not really like that. I want the Longhorns to beat the hell out of the Aggies. Other than that, I kind of root for the rivals because the rivalries suck if the Aggies suck. That's what happened to the rivalry, pretty much. I'm not saying, don't say Aggies suck, but the Aggies suck. No, just say Aggies, you do not suck.
Hey, we gotta get that.
You sucks. All right.
Hey man, we gotta get that rivalry started back up. It's coming back real soon.
We gotta find something different for the Aggies. You sucks. The Aggies are something different.
We just ignore them, and that's how you really get them.
That is true, but they're hard to ignore. We all know that Aggies are tough to ignore. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that on Thursday. I really want that second round matchup, like the decision makers who made the decisions about the seeding. They want to see Texas versus Texas A&M. All right, we want to see the Flex, or if you want to see any of the great content they have on the Flex website, go to flxatx.com. FLXATX on all of your social media platforms. Up there right now, they actually do have the official 2023 All-District 26-6A basketball selections for the boys. You can go check that out up on the FLXATX.com website. Also, go check out the 20. They got showing some love to the 25-6A high school hoops, outstanding players and some of the standouts as well. So you can go check that out. So it's hoop season, of course. A lot of talk about basketball, but a lot of that on the FLXATX.com website. Go check it out for yourself. FLXATX on your social media platforms as well. We come back. We'll continue the hoops conversation. The experts, they love the Longhorns. They're making it easy for me to fill out my bracket, drinking the burnt orange Kool-Aid with the burnt orange glasses on, and having a damn good time while I do it. We'll talk about that when we come back right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Is he describing a specific night? And what a night?
I assume
In
so.
the lyrics? Okay.
Because
because he talks about
December-
63.
He says December 63, so he gives a month too.
He gives a month too, but it was like it was a month in December 63. And 'cause I've never listened to the lyrics of this song. Is it so? What was so crazy about the night? Why was it?
I don't know. I get it. I'm not a huge Frankie Valli in the Four
It's
Seasons
a good song
fan.
though. I love the song.
No, I
though.
love the song.
It's a great
good
vibe.
song, but yeah,
it's
I'm
like
not
a wedding song. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've never been really into Frankie Valli, so I don't know the history of it as much.
This is one of Frankie Valli's. This is one of his bangers.
Oh yeah.
This is like the Frankie Valli banger then. To me, I don't know if
Yeah.
he's got a ton. I'm sure he does, but this is a banger. It goes hard. Still to this day, it's still even this day and age. I don't know what year this is.
This
But
is
it's gotta
actually
be
75.
I was going to say 30, 40 years old, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. All right, top of the charts Tuesday. That's why we love it. Always the most eclectic, musically themed day of the week. Keeping us on our toes is my man Patrick Davis, the real MVP at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. And we all are a buzz. Feeling good. We are right now. The Longhorn Nation's feeling. I think somebody dropped the term euphoric yesterday, considering they get to fill out their bracket and they can do it while drinking the burnt orange Kool-Aid, and they can do it, wearing the burnt orange glasses. When's the last time the Longhorns drank this much burnt orange Kool-Aid while filling out their bracket? It's been a while. Usually you guard against that, right? You're like, nah. I've seen too much Texas basketball. Can't be too much of a homer about that in my bracket. Now you get to be a homer. And it's actually not a bad pick if you listen to the experts on the ESPN bracketology show. So, Craig Way likes to term around this time of year. Bracketological prognostications. Dickie V, LaFonso Ellis, Seth Greenberg, Jay Billis, Reese Davis, and now add Jay Wright to that also, and Seth Davis, all predicting Texas to make it to the Final Four. Oh, what a night. I'm giddy about it, too. I haven't filled out a bracket. I guess maybe I wasn't filling out brackets in 02, 03 because I was, in the NFL doing some stuff. But now since I've been filling out brackets, I haven't filled out the bracket with this much homerism in my heart.
No, I don't think I've felt this good about a team in a very long time. Because even when you can say they went back and lost a few years ago when they won the Big 12 tournament and lost in that first round, brutal. We have to put in there Kansas had to miss the semifinal game that probably could have beaten Texas because they tested positive. And so Texas got a bye game and then won the tournament. Completely fair. Don't want to take anything away from. But there was a slight caveat to that team that this was not a top 5 team. This was not a team that basically all season looked good and only at one point really had a stumble near the end of the season where we all really went down on them and said, oh, no, we don't think this is a Sweet 16 team. Like that stumble was, oh, man, they might lose in the first weekend. But pretty much the entire Big 12 season, they've looked like a team to get to the second weekend.
I agree with that. No question.
And so when you say they've looked like that team to get to the second weekend, and now you start to see, oh, man, they're playing with a little bit more focus and a little bit more intensity. They're playing well at the right time. It makes you want to believe more and more. And, you can look at the negatives. There's some there. Tyrese Hunter didn't shoot well in the last game.
Yeah.
You can look at
if they go up against a big team with a true big. That's always a conundrum. Yeah.
But there's not a ton of those teams, especially not on our side of the bracket. So we kind of get lucky there that there's not a lot that we would have to match up against early of real good big men. So you can kind of work it where this may end up well for Texas in guard play. And I can tell you, I watched a couple Colgate games between last night and this morning in the office, and this is one, if Texas focuses, should be not a problem. They need to focus because Colgate does pass the ball very well, but you're not playing ISO ball. Their best player is Richardson. He's a good player, but he's not an ISO guy who can come off and put up 40 on you. Like, they don't have that guy. He will play good defense. They will play passing lanes so you can get turnovers. But if you play solid basketball, you should be able to handle this. They shoot threes well, but if you watch, basically, if you don't guard the three, they're shooting them all day long, and they're going to try and shoot them all day long until you get out and guard them. If not, they'll play some big man high on you and try and run back cuts on you, which Texas can fall susceptible to too. But these are all things Texas is more athletic than them and can beat them with.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. If you look at the bracket, so in addition to the hot team theory, Texas is playing their best basketball right now going into the tournament, and obviously coming off the Big 12 tournament championship. That's another reason to drink the Kool-Aid. And you look at the bracket they're in, and Colgate. You just talked about them, but I mean, I don't want to diss Colgate or anything like that, but they have a lot of limitations as a team.
Rod?
Just the more research you
Rod,
do.
we have to hit the breaking news sounder.
Uh-oh, hit it. Oh, is it A-Rod?
It is not A-Rod. Wait, let's hit this. It is Cowboys news. The
Uh-oh.
Cowboys did something, Rod.
Uh-oh, give it to me.
5-time Pro Bowl cornerback Stephon Gilmore is being traded to the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
Per Adam Schefter.
Amen. Wow. There you go. Did not see that coming. All right, there you go. Beautiful. Just talked about it yesterday that the Cowboys need to use the trade market because they don't use it. They love to build through the draft. They love to build through the undrafted free agent market. By the way, they're awesome. They're top 5 in those categories, but they need to use the trade market more. They use the trade market. They need to use the free agent market a little bit more to exhaust every possible means, every possible option to upgrade the roster. And they were only using half of their available resources to upgrade the roster. Didn't understand it. Never understood it. Get active in the trade market. Look at all the top receivers that have moved teams. They've all been traded. Right? The trade market, the NBA-ification of the NFL, part of that is now teams are becoming more trade happy. And they used to be reluctant to make trades. I have no idea why. But that's a great move for the Cowboys. They needed a corner. I know Cowboys fans were upset when Patrick Peterson was off the market. And they thought Jalen Ramsey could have been an option for them, too.
Right.
I think salary cap-wise, that was going to be hard to make that work.
It was going to work. Stephon Gilmore is around $11 million, $12 million a year player that you're getting. You're apparently only giving up the compensatory 5th-round pick.
I got to tell you, Dan Quinn. I think it's more Dan Quinn's kind of influence. I think Dan Quinn's making, I just gave the evidence as to why we can look at the pattern, the trend of how they've viewed safety and the market of safety and free agency and in the draft. And Dan Quinn, he comes there, emphasizes safety, and now they signed Donovan Wilson to a relatively, moderately lucrative contract for the safety position. And now you get them investing in the defense with a former defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, 5-time Pro Bowler. It's definitely something that next season, that secondary,
Ooh.
that was a major hole that needed to be fixed before this offseason. So I'm all excited about Texas basketball too. But I felt there was breaking news when that hit my phone.
Hey, no, that was worth it. And we'll get back to Texas basketball here in a second. But I'm a little giddy. I'm a quasi Cowboys fan. That's a hell of a move.
Hey, I know Mike Hart just hit me up. He's a fan of it too.
Okay, there you go. Because my thing was that, listen, this is what the best teams do, right? Yes, you have to build through the draft. That goes without saying. Yes, you build through the draft, but you have to supplement and complement your roster with free agency and with the trade market. And the Cowboys have been marvelous at building through the draft and undrafted free agency, finding great value there. But they've ignored pretty much the trade market. Yes, they got Amari Cooper there. Should have incentivized them to do it more because it worked out for them. Yeah, they the ones who screwed it up when they were trading them away, only getting a 5th-round pick in return. The Jonathan Hankins move actually paid off for them, improved the run defense, make more trades.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about a trade like this in free agency where, hey, man, maybe we're looking at a Patrick Peterson and we couldn't make it work. Let's make a trade. It's a 5th-round compensatory pick given up for him. The Colts just need to drop his salary.
Yep. It's exactly. I don't think the picks bother the Cowboys. It's the cat boy. It's all about the salary for them.
But that's basically you signing a cornerback that you desperately need on that other side. You keep Donovan Wilson. That secondary is taking shape to look pretty good right now.
Well, because now Anthony Brown, I believe, was a free agent too, so you can let him go. You don't have to worry about Anthony Brown. And Deron Bland played really well last year as a young, nickel slot corner there. So we assume Deron Bland's going to get more playing time. I don't see about Jordan Lewis and what they think about Jordan Lewis, but I love the way the secondary is shaping up. Got 3 safeties, and you got your 2 starting corners. I mean, you got your starting 5 in the secondary already, and that's not even including Deron Bland. Now you got your starting dime package, too, when you include Deron Bland in there. I love it.
Oh, yeah. You know what, Jerry? We were maybe talking a little bit more trash on you yesterday. Good work today. So re-signing Donovan Wilson, making this trade. Good day for the Cowboys after yesterday was a pretty quiet day.
Man, but it wasn't on the free agent market, though.
It wasn't.
Right? Because they still
kept their guy. We like our guys.
Yeah, exactly. So they still keep – but like I said, yesterday I was like, you know what, just use either of those other means to acquire talent, whether it be through the trade market or whether that be highly investing in free agency. They don't – and you know what? I actually still support them not being uberly aggressive in free agency. They still should do more, but I support them not being uber aggressive in free agency. The trade market, though, is a different discussion altogether. Yeah. Trade market – the reason the trade market is great, you want to know why? What's that old saying? A sucker is born every minute? Bunch of suckers that are working those NFL front offices. Bill O'Brien was one at one point, getting swindled. Right? It seems like the Lakers used to always find one in the NBA. There are lots of them up there. Go find one. There are like 3 or 4 in the NFL right now. They're about to be fired. Go find the one who doesn't know what his team is valued at and go swindle that guy. That's why trades are great. Because you really just got, it's really not about necessarily, you got to figure out what you need, but then go figure out the teams who have front offices that either need to get rid of these players, because that's always a money issue, maybe trying to clear cap space, whatever it may be, or go find the GM who's not quite savvy enough to understand what the assets he have and what value they have and retain. And the Cowboys can do that. And I think for the Colts, they probably just want to move on.
Yeah. I think this was for them. He probably wanted a new deal.
Yeah.
We'll see if the Cowboys are willing to offer him a new deal. He's a free agent after this season. But the Cowboys may look into it, restructure his deal, make him a little bit less now and take more money later and keep him on there. But I think it's a great move for the Cowboys.
It's Dan Quinn's influence now. Remember my theory, and I think now my theory holds a lot more water, is that basically Jerry Jones knows that if Mike McCarthy, who's calling the plays now, and he's in charge of the offense and also in charge of the team, if they don't get past the divisional round with Mike McCarthy now calling the plays, no more buffer. All right, that for him, that's it's all gonna come right at his feet when the fit hits the shan, if it does, and then Jerry Jones will move on, and Dan Quinn will be the guy. That's why Dan Quinn's still there. Dan Quinn's been offered multiple jobs while he's been with the Cowboys. He hadn't moved on. The reason is because behind the scenes, I think Jerry's told him, listen, Dan, just stay here. I'll even let you start building, constructing the team in your own image, whatever you want to do. Just stay here. Give me one more year. If we get past the divisional round and get to the conference championship, great. Then we all win. Yeah. Everybody wants to win a championship. Then we got a chance to win, and we can't do it without you. But if we don't, I'm moving on, and I'm moving on to you. Show me your team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's going on. I think that's why you're seeing them change up a little bit of their patterns and trends, but also how you've kept Dan Quinn there, even though he's been offered 3, 4 potential, at least had 3 or 4 different interviews since he's been there, and he's actually
his name's been rumored.
He's taking his name out of the interview process. Removed his name. What? He removed his name from the interview process. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. I think I know why.
Yeah. I think he's happy where he's at for multiple reasons.
I think he also likes the athletes. I think he realizes Micah Parsons is the perfect embodiment of his positionless football ideology and philosophy. And he knows here he actually can do something special. He can almost recreate the magnitude of his defense with the Legion of Boom. Not the same thing, but it is what he was able to do there, and what it was able to, the impact it was able to have. Anyway, all right, getting back to Texas basketball. Sorry about that. Breaking news. Thank you, Patrick. Getting back to Texas basketball. Burnt orange Kool-Aid. Drink it. All right? Drink it up. Because everybody across the country is. It'd be different if we were drinking the burnt orange Kool-Aid here inside our little bubble and nobody else was. Then I'd advise against it. Like, no, man, don't drink the Kool-Aid. You know me. I advise against drinking the Kool-Aid all the time. I don't, I'm like, no, don't get drunk on the Kool-Aid, because then Let's say the liquor to the fool, food to the wise man, but liquor to the fool. That's what the burnt orange Kool-Aid can be sometimes. Don't do that. But when
everybody's drinking it. Everybody drinking
when
it.
Dickie V, Seth Greenberg, Jay Billis, Reese Davis, LaFonso Ellis, Seth Davis, Jay Wright, talking about some of the premier minds in college basketball saying, no, Texas in my bracket already filled out. They're in my Final Four.
A lot of them have him in the championship game.
Do they really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I know Greenberg's got him in the championship game. I know Dickie V has him. I don't think anybody has them winning the title. I don't think anyone has Texas winning the title.
Hey, you got a chance if you get there,
but
man.
I'm telling you, a lot of them in the Final Four. I've seen more and more that have them in the championship game.
Wow.
And so if you're talking about on that side of the bracket, the big one is Purdue is not on your side of the bracket because Purdue is one that you just get scared with Zach Edey. That would be one in the Final Four you wouldn't want to face.
That dude.
Also, that's way. Let's not look that far down the line. I know we're drinking that burnt orange Kool-Aid, but let me take the burnt orange binoculars off.
Just drink some.
3 weekends down. We're talking about April now.
Yeah, drink some water in between. You gotta make sure you drink some water. Give him some water.
You gotta be Colgate first.
Yeah,
you gotta be Colgate first. But no, I think that it lines up really well. That if you were looking for what Texas can do for how the guard play can be. And the defense that they've shown that they can play, especially against guards, where when we talk about that March is about guards, you say, well, that also matters defensively, that when they can say, we're going to slow Grady Dick down, DeJuan Harris is a non-factor in this game, well, now guard play changes now to, hey, man, Jabari Rice has a good offensive game, but Tyrese Hunter shut down somebody, Marcus Carr hit some guys with a pass. All of a sudden, that guard play is two-sided. And Texas has guards that can score and can play really good defense. That's where it starts to get scary against other teams.
I love that point, and I'll even throw just recently the raw athleticism of Arterio Morris.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Him just as bringing that juice to the lineup. I mean, he's not like an offensive powerhouse or anything, but man, when he just goes on these kind of he's a streaky player. When he gets hot, when he makes a good play, you can tell it just energizes him. He gets kind of hungry to make the next play. So I love that point about the guards, though. Remember, that was at the beginning of the season. That's why everybody was really, really optimistic. You had veteran guards, guys who had been to the tournament, had tournament experience, and if you could get those three guards playing really high level, playing really well at the right time, then Texas could have something special. Well, I think two of the three are playing at a really high level, both offensively and defensively. But right now, Tyrese Hunter, if he can't give you anything offensively consistently, he's giving you so much intense energy on the defensive end. He did a hell of a job on DeJuan Harris in that game. So, and thank God Arterio Morris has finally found his groove. Because now you almost do have those three guards. It's just you have the defense of Tyrese Hunter and it really kind of the offensive energy of Arterio Morris lately. So I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. So in my bracket, I got Texas in the Final Four. I ain't even finished filling out my bracket. I ain't finished it. But I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, and that got Texas in the Final Four. There you go.
And I mean, I'll say in our bracket, too, again, your second game most likely is A&M. Buzz Williams is one of the more experienced coaches in this bracket as well. There's not a ton, like some of these other brackets have experienced head coaches for a lot of years that can game plan a lot quicker and are be a lot better to try and put something up against Texas. I don't think there's a ton of those guys. There's good coaches, but not the experience level that is there. So Texas can come in and go, well, if Rodney Terry doesn't necessarily have the experience as a head coach, it's not a huge disadvantage because a lot of these other teams don't have. You're not playing against Jim Boeheim and Roy Williams and all these other coaches who may be on a down year. Coach Calipari in Kentucky is a 6 seed. You're not having to hit that.
Yeah, that's a great point there. All right, so getting a lot of Cowboys fans on the Spec Sex line, 512-337-3776. And yes, and rightfully so, they are very, very excited. And I get it. Stephon Gilmore traded to the Cowboys. You say a 5th-round pick, correct?
It's their conditional 5th-round pick they got. So it wasn't even – so basically they were like, well, we hadn't planned on getting this one anyway, so we'll just trade that.
That's a great move by the Cowboys, man. That's why you need somebody in your organization that, honestly, I would have somebody almost fully devoted to making trades because it's a different acquisition than the draft, which is, always about scouting and, mostly about the background and research you do on the players and your due diligence. It's very different than free agency in the NFL, which is a lot of that is just capology, numbers. Can you make the numbers work with the salary? You bring in that guy, make the salary work. The trade market is different because undrafted free agency, obviously, very different too. You need a guy or a gal, by the way, or a woman devoted fully just to undrafted free agents. That's all they do. They say the guys who don't get drafted and go, no,
Yeah.
we got a board. The guy on our board, he's still really high. Should have been drafted in the 6th round, but he's an undrafted free agent. We got to get this guy. And you got to have somebody for that too. And the trade market is different because that's relationships. Now, you got to go make a deal. There's an agent involved. There's another GM involved. All right, he's got an ego. They're trying to get something out of it. That's all about making a deal. Those are different skill sets when you tell in terms of talent acquisition. And I love that the Cowboys are deciding to be more active in the trade market. Lately we've seen the Super Bowl champions, or at least a few of them, use or at least adopt what are seen as unconventional methods to get to a Super Bowl, whether it be the Rams, talk about the cash or cap all the time, Patrick.
Yeah.
Going to get trading for, Matt Stafford, trading for Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, whatever. I mean, they did a ton of stuff. They explored every avenue to upgrade their roster. The Bucks, when they brought in Tom Brady, speaking of the NBAification of the NFL, he's doing a lot of what Aaron Rodgers wanted to do. Remember? He didn't give a wish list, but he had a wish list.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted Gronk. He wanted Antonio Brown.
See, the difference
they
was...
traded for Shaq Mason.
The difference was Tom Brady set all those deals up and then just handed the paperwork over to the Bucks.
Probably right.
And said, "I've already worked out the details."
Considering he wanted to be the Jackie Moon of the NFL at one time with the Miami Dolphins, you're probably right about that. But yeah, I think this is a huge step for the Cowboys. I love this texter here saying about the Cowboys, Dan Quinn is building his team for when he takes over as head coach. If the Cowboys don't get past the divisional round, I certainly agree. I think Jerry Jones is saying it's pretty simple. Get past the divisional round, Mike. If you do, I'll give you an extension. If you don't, you're probably going to be gone. And Dan Quinn's going to get the job. And that's I don't know if that is understood, but I think between Dan Quinn and Jerry Jones, my conspiracy theory on the grassy knoll, it is understood. All right, we come back. We'll get back to some Texas basketball conversation as well. We'll look ahead to Colgate a little bit. Remember, tomorrow we'll do more deep dive, rabbit holing about Texas' opponent, but also about bracketology. And then Thursday, we're going to be on the road. We're going to be at the Round Rock Twin Peaks. So if you need somewhere, come hang out and watch the game. My man Patrick's going to be out there live on location. I'll be out there on location at the Round Rock location, Twin Peaks. So 3 till 5:30, actually. And then we start up the pregame. So we'll be out there doing the actual show Ball Don't Lie, but then we start the pregame for Texas basketball, pregame actually. Craig Way, of course, will have the official pregame, but we'll have our pregame starting up at 5:30. So lots of hoops discussion tomorrow and on Thursday. Even later on in the show, we'll get back to that in the top of the 6 o'clock. But coming up next, we gotta call an audible, all right? You got to get to this breaking news from the Dallas Cowboys, from Cowboy Country, them making a trade for Stephon Gilmore. We'll get into that on the other side. All of that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It's a top of the charts Tuesday. We play jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. Also a jam. I like this. It's a banger.
It's a banger.
Yeah, man, you're on the hot streak today. You even played a Frankie Valli banger earlier. And by the way, Texter said it was the night he lost his virginity. So
Okay.
yeah. So Grant says definitely not a wedding song. It's a song about a one night stand. You know what? I think I've heard at wedding receptions though. You're probably right. We want to listen to the lyrics of it.
No, that's the thing. I've had friends who've been like friends at low places gets played at weddings. You're like, that song's about crashing a wedding, right? Yeah, that song's about crashing a wedding. It's probably not the best song to play at a wedding.
Probably
right?
not. Yeah, you're right. Good point. But there's a lot. You know what?
But that's the thing. No one knows the chorus. No one knows the verses. They just know the chorus.
That is very true. You're right. I didn't even know. Oh, what a night. So yeah, Texas says that song is about him losing his virginity. So yeah, I did not know that. Found out something new. I do like the song. I might like it even more now. It's a good song. All right, let's get to Dallas Cowboys and their big acquisition. They traded for Stephon Gilmore, trading a fifth-round pick for the cornerback Stephon Gilmore from the Indianapolis Colts. And, you know, I'm reading some of the text on the Specs text line. A lot of texters out there really excited. You should be. As a matter of fact, 512-337-3776. Just your thoughts on the Cowboys making some big-time moves here. One text says, does Dallas have the best secondary now? Gilmore, Diggs, Wilson with that D-line. They'll catch plenty of interceptions next year. Look at I would say Trevon Diggs. They got to re-sign him, by the way. They need to do that sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Do it now. You got to, he's going to be the highest paid cornerback in the league when they sign him. And then you got to sign Micah. You might as well just get those two things out of the way. But yeah, to the point about being the best secondary, it's definitely one of the best secondaries in the league. No question. You got Trevon Diggs, so you got a corner. If he's not your lockdown corner, definitely your shadow corner that can take a guy away. Then you got Stephon Gilmore, so there's no easy wins if you're throwing away from, Trevon Diggs. Remember last year, that was one of the really kind of the fatal flaws of the defense. They never figured that one out. They had two issues last year defensively. All right, and no defense is going to be perfect because you got 11 guys out there. There will be a weak link. The offensive coordinator's job is to find those 2 or 3 weak links because you can't pay everybody on that side of the ball to be all elite talents. So find those 2 or 3 weak links, build a damn defensive game plan around attacking those 2 or 3 weak links. It ain't rocket science. You stay away from Aaron Donald, stay away from Michael Parsons, and go attack the other guy over there that looks like a Jag and a jabroni. That's how you start the game plan. And you basically keep pulling at that thread until the whole damn sweater unravels because that's what happens, right? As a defensive coordinator, what did Dan Quinn have to do? He had to compensate for that corner. He had to move pieces around. I gotta put a safety over the top of that guy. I gotta give that corner help over there. When he lost Anthony Brown, y'all talked a lot of trash about Anthony Brown. And what did I tell y'all? I said, man, y'all gonna miss Anthony Brown. I said it before he got hurt. I said, man, y'all talk a lot of trash about Anthony Brown. Trust me, I've been the other corner. Like the other woman, I've been the other corner. That other corner is that corner who he's not really worth us knowing his name because the corner that we want to stay away from, the Quentin Jammers of the world, or the Nathan Vashers, who still has the lead for interceptions here on the 40 acres. You stay away from those guys. We're going to throw at the other corner. You stay away from Trevon Diggs. You throw at the other corner. They don't even call him by name. You just throw out his number. We're going to throw at 21. And they threw. I was the other corner all throughout my years here on the 40 acres, so I know about being the other corner. And Anthony Brown was a pretty damn good one. He really was. And y'all missed him, didn't y'all? I told y'all. Y'all was like, oh, man, he's trash. He's a bum. Get him off the field. Okay. Well, when he got off the field, how many corners did y'all go through on the other side? Kelvin Joseph. After Anthony Brown went out, Kelvin Joseph, Nashawn Wright, Deron Bland. He was uncomfortable out there when they put him at the corner. They brought in Mackenzie Alexander and Kendall Sheffield and Trayvon Mullen. I don't even know if those guys really even played that much because they just didn't trust them. Then Xavier Rhodes at the end, they brought him in too. And then they put Deron Bland back out there. They could never figure it out. All because that bum, I'm being sarcastic, Anthony Brown got hurt. And everybody hated Anthony Brown. Nope, y'all missed him. And I think the Cowboys realized, all right, if Anthony Brown, if he does get hurt again, we need an insurance policy over there. But Anthony Brown's a free agent. So they figure, you know what, let's just upgrade the whole damn position. Let's not even have to worry about contingency plans and what if this happens and what about the draft. No, let's just upgrade the position, period. Let's go get the best possible upgrade we can get, and maybe it's through a trade, which I admire the Cowboys for doing. I said it last week. Been yelling and screaming it on this show for a few years now. Cowboys are one of the best teams in the NFL acquiring talent through the draft. Actually, top 5, arguably, in the last 5, ever since Will McClay took over. And at undrafted free agency, they're actually one of the best teams in the NFL at maximizing undrafted free agents. Their undrafted free agent class was ranked number 1 in 2022, number 2 in 2021. It was number 1 in 2020. It was number 9 in 2019. But you get my point. It's pretty damn good. They evaluate talent really well. But why do we only use those options to acquire talent when you can also use a trade market, you can also use a free agent market? Now, I get you don't want to be over-invested in free agency and in the trade market. You want to build your team through the draft, but you need to complement it and supplement it with trades and with free agency, and the Cowboys don't do that enough. I think this is a huge step forward, and I do think, just like the Donovan Wilson deal, which is uncharacteristic of this Cowboys regime, investing in a safety position, Patrick, I think this is Dan Quinn's influence saying, hey, guys, I want to have the best defense in the league, which we could possibly have. We have that type of potential capability. Yeah. Go get me a real corner.
Well, and I think you look at a guy like Stephen Gilmore, and some people are pointing out, it's like, well, he did this. He might be on the backside. Reports are that he had some minor surgeries in the offseason before last year to basically clear up some nagging injuries and fix everything up. Played better last year. However, he was just on a bad team last year, so he was on the field a lot. I think Dan Quinn sees him and goes, no, we can put him in the right position to go win because we can see what he can do, and I can watch his game film and go, that's the type of cornerback I want on the other side. And we can say he's 32 years old, but the reports of him looking a lot better last year because he got his knee issues cleaned up, and the fact that you just go, look, his numbers are going to be weird last year anyway because when you play on one of the worst teams in the league, the ball gets thrown your way a lot more than if you're playing on a good team with a good pass rush and everything else. So I think that it's a great trade. And you remember, you still have Trayvon Diggs on the other side. So, yes, it's not 2 shutdown cornerbacks, but that's not what Jerry was going to do ever. But I think this is an upgrade over Anthony Brown.
No question.
And you're now solidifying where Anthony Brown was probably going to ask for money similar to around double digits, which they didn't want to do. They didn't want to go longer term. With Gilmore, you have 1 year on this deal. They can go and see if they want to negotiate more. But to give up a 5th-round pick where you're taking a shot on a cornerback maybe in the 5th round that you hope can come in and be something, this is just a great, great pickup for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and the Cowboys play a lot of man-to-man. Stephen Gilmore, when he was with the Patriots, when he was at his best, he was playing a lot of man-to-man coverage with the Patriots. That's what Bill Belichick believes in. And the Cowboys, with Dan Quinn now, they play a lot more man-to-man coverage, and that's why you were often leaving that cornerback opposite Trevon Diggs, leaving them out to dry because they were, in man-to-man, they were being targeted and being exploited. So now that, to me, that was your biggest weakness on defense. You could argue the rush defense was their biggest weakness, but once they acquired Jonathan Hankins, and the truth is when LVE was in there and LVE was healthy, the rush defense was much better. And remember, they were rotating their linebackers. They really couldn't figure out who their linebackers are going to be. And that's a key this year, too. If you want to hybridize the skill set of Micah Parsons and move him around the chessboard, you have to figure out who your off-ball linebackers are. I know they like Damone Clark, and he played a lot more toward the end of the season. Remember, Anthony Barr is a free agent, and LVE are free agents. So, yes, they deserve a lot of praise, the Cowboys do, and Dan Quinn for remedying and figuring out their cornerback spot opposite Trevon Diggs, because that may have been the biggest issue that was really, I think a weakness, the biggest weakness, I should say, for the defense. Now, if LVE is gone, they really need to figure out, because Jonathan Hankins, I believe, also may be a free agent as well. Jonathan Hankins and LVE pretty much saved your rush defense last year.
Yeah, Hankins is a free agent.
Yeah, your rush defense, when those guys were hurt and they went in there together, your rush defense really suffered. So you got to figure out something to do with the interior defensive tackle there. Like I said, remember I talked about the plunger? Every house needs a plunger when the fit hits the shan. That's what those old school, gap clogging, double team taking defensive tackles are. They can just clog a hole like a Poona Ford or like hell, Ndamukong Suh was that guy this year. Linval Joseph was that guy for the Eagles. They needed one. Remember, they got both those guys during the season because Jordan Davis got hurt, and the Cowboys needed one too. They traded for Jonathan Hankins. Every defense is going to need one of those old school wide bodies. And the Cowboys, I don't know if they have one on their roster right now. That's why they traded for Jonathan Hankins. You need that. You can find that, and usually it's a 1-year rental. You don't want to invest in it. The Eagles did because you need one every year. But it's a plunger. You want to pay a lot of money for a plunger, or you want to just go buy the cheap one and be like, all right, yeah, I'll buy the cheapest plunger. It's a plunger.
That could be one that may wait till the draft. And
That's what I'm saying. Like
draft
yeah, stuff like that.
One of those guys, like we see running backs are probably waiting a lot more. We've seen a few go off the board, but probably a thing waiting more after a heavy running back draft. I could see defensive tackles, the run on them being after people figure out if they're able to get one in the 4th round, 5th round. You're like, if you can get a 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick of a guy that can do that role, then why not take that cheaper option? And someone you go, hey, maybe this guy's really great, but all we really need is a plunger. So if it's a great plunger, awesome. But we just need a plunger.
You're right about that. You can find the help. That's what Kendrick Coburn is.
Yeah.
So you need one. Find that guy somewhere late. You just brought up running backs. Got me thinking about something. I was looking at because the Cowboys actually are overly invested right now in the running back position. We don't know what they're going to do. We assume they're going to cut Zeke, restructure Zeke, whatever. It hasn't happened. So currently, Cowboys do have the most expensive running back room in the history of the NFL. I'm not making that up. That's true. It's crazy.
And they will, even if they cut Zeke, right?
It's still going to be the most expensive in the league.
Most expensive in the league.
Yeah, so because they still have the dead money associated with it. But yeah, they might need that roster spot. I mean, just because I don't know if Zeke.
Hey, if you look at the list of free agents and the list of running backs in the draft, it is hard to rationalize Zeke being on this roster.
Agreed.
Because he is not better than any of those.
Look how deep. And it's a great point. And right now, the running back market, it's just oversaturated. It's got. I mean, you talk about, first of all, look at the draft. You're going to have a really deep draft with Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kendre Miller, Devin Achane, Zach Evans. I mean, Tank Bigsby. Hell, Rojo's going to be in there. Tajay Spears. I mean, that's a ton of really good backs in this draft. Really deep. One of the deepest positions in the draft. And then you got the free agent market, which also has got a lot of good running backs in the free agent market, apparently. Miles Sanders, Kareem Hunt. You said Rashad Penny. Off the market.
Rashad Penny to the Eagles.
There you go.
Which, hey, if you're a Cowboys fan, could mean they're out of the Bijan Robinson sweepstakes in the draft.
True that.
It could mean they're out of that. So that nightmare of
they're definitely out of that because I couldn't see them.
I don't see why you get Rashad Penny
and then draft one.
I think Rashad Penny is a 1-year deal.
And they'll draft one late, though, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, they can take another one, but they still have Boston Scott on that roster, I think. So it would be hard for them to take another one in the first round.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But then in addition to the free agent market, Deontay Foreman also is out there. Deontay Foreman's out there, man. But now, Patrick, we know because of Adam Schefter and some of the inside reports, Austin Eckler has been given permission to seek a trade.
Yeah.
The running back for the Chargers. Derrick Henry also is on the trade market. Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook. That's a trade market for running backs.
That's the trade market.
And then you got the free agent market, which is loaded. And then the draft class is loaded. It is, I mean, the Cowboys, now everybody, I think, will have a decent running back on their roster because there's an embarrassment of riches at running back position, whether you're looking at the draft, free agency, or the trade market. But nobody's going to trade for a running. Well, maybe, depending on what the trade value is.
That's
that's really
the
cheap.
thing. Because if it's just, hey, we have to pay him.
Like a 7th-round pick or something.
If we just have to pay for Derrick Henry and it's a 6th-round pick or something, you're just trying to dump salary.
Put you over the top.
I mean, Austin Eckler feels like you'd have to give it more for Austin Eckler or Dalvin Cook because they'd rather have him on their roster.
Yeah, you know who should love this? The Bills. It should be the Bills should end up with an upgraded running back.
It's still going to be Nyheim Hines next
They're
year.
They're going to screw it up somehow. How are the Bills going to screw up this running back market? I don't know how. They should. If they don't end up with an upgraded running back after this offseason, I'm going to be very disappointed in their front office.
Yeah, their front office, they just wake up on opening day and they go, Ah, crap. Forgot to get a running back.
Somebody put
every
a
year.
posted reminder
Every
on the
year.
mirror or something for the GM. Good boy. All right, we'll come back. We got off the record on the other side. There are odds now for Tiger's next girlfriend. We'll get into that. And also, we'll discuss what may be the beginning of a scary science fiction thriller. But I hate to inform you, it's actually a real factual report. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Time for another edition of Off the Record. Got a few stories I want to hit here real quick. So I read this from Fox News. It says a giant blob of seaweed twice the width of the U.S. is headed toward Florida. Florida's Gulf Coast. The sargassum bloom is twice the width of the United States and believed to be the largest in history. It's drifting between the Atlantic coast of Africa and the Gulf of Mexico. The thick mat of algae and seaweed can provide a habitat for lots of marine life. And also, obviously, it affects the environment, the ecosystem that it's in. And they're expecting basically the shores and the beaches of Florida to look pretty disgusting, basically. Be full of seaweed. You ever been to Galveston beaches? Have bad seaweed problems too, like seaweed everywhere. Not that I hang out in Galveston that much, but when I've been there a few times, I've been there. But this is supposed to be something that is like unprecedented. The impending seaweed comes as Floridians along the state's southwest coast have complained about burning eyes and breathing problems, dead fish washing up on shore. So they believe a lot of these events have been experienced because of the algae, the impending tide of the algae coming in. Crazy. That does sound like the beginning of some science fiction movie. It's terrible. So that's why I don't go way out there in the ocean. I kind of stay close to the shore. That's my thing. All right, another story here. Tom Brady. Tom Brady's ex-wife, she's involved in this story too. So apparently, Bet Online are taking wagers about who is going to be the next spouse or the next girlfriend or significant other for Tiger Woods. Yeah, this is actually a real thing. So Bet Online, you can go bet on who's going to be Tiger's next girlfriend. Gisele Bündchen has the best odds right now at plus 2,500 to be Tiger's next girlfriend. Tiger wouldn't do that to Tom Brady. A goat would not do that to another goat, would he?
I don't know. It is Tiger.
Man, that'd be. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Tiger and Tom are even close or acquaintances. I mean, maybe they are. I assume two goats like that, at least, they've texted with each other before. They have each other's number. You don't assume Tom Brady has Tiger's number in his phone? I assume he does.
I don't know if he has his number. I assume he has somebody.
A way to contact him?
Yeah, he can contact him.
I mean, I would, if I was a GOAT, I'd make sure to have all the GOATs' contact information in my phone. I want MJ's. It's only like 5 of us. It's like Wayne Gretzky, MJ, Tiger's like 5 or 6 people. You don't think you'd have those 5 or 6 of you? Serena Williams. It's like 6 of y'all on the planet. You don't think you'd want the LeBron?
I might have some people in there.
I'd have LeBron, MJ. No, some people are like, why you need LeBron when you have MJ? I get it. I'm just saying. I'd have Wayne Gretzky being, if I was Tom Brady, having him phone. Just have the GOATs in there.
See,
I'd have a section just for the GOATs.
I feel like I don't need Michael Jordan to have my number, though, if I'm a GOAT. Because I know he is going to constantly be hitting me up for bets. Dude, it's 4 a.m, Michael. I don't care what's happening in Sri Lanka right now.
MJ's probably betting on who's going to be Tiger's next woman. MJ's obsessed with that kind of stuff. How about this? Okay, so Kim Kardashian has the second best odds. No way. No way. It would never happen. No, Tiger wouldn't. You know what? If Tiger did it, I'd be really impressed with Tiger. It would show me that Tiger's going off the beaten path here, trying to find his next woman. Shakira is tied with Jada Pinkett Smith. Okay. For the third best odds. Yes, Jada Pinkett. Well, they are in an open relationship. Keep that in mind. Will and Jada have both admitted that they have an open relationship. Oh, someone said they've golfed before on the match. Yeah. Tiger and Tiger.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's some texting going on, all right, between them. Vera Wang is at plus 7,500 along with Eva Longoria and Charlize Theron. And Katie Holmes. I don't even know who Monique Samuels is. I'm not sure who that is. They're all tied at plus 7,500. I think Charlize Theron, yeah, she's old too, but she's still smoking hot.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like he's going to go get like a Denny's waitress. That's more Tiger Woods speed, right?
It is. That is his speed. He doesn't like starlets.
No.
He's not a fan of the starlet. He did it with, what's her name? The skater, Lindsey Vonn?
Yeah, he was with Lindsey Vonn.
Lindsey Vonn's a man-eater, though. She wears those men.
I think Lindsey Vonn found him, though.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. She found it. So these women are going to be – the whole is what women is going to go after Tiger Because I think whoever goes after him gets him.
Oh.
I don't think he's that.
He's not that hard to get.
No.
Tiger don't play hard to get. What you saying?
What golfer out there is turning it down?
I like this. I said that Kim Kardashian was off the beaten path for Tiger. This text says that's a very beaten path. Well done.
Nice.
I like that. Yeah. He said, "Isn't Giselle the goat of modeling?" I don't know. Maybe she is. You know what? She could. She's in that conversation, I imagine. But there you go. Those are the odds for who's going to be Tiger Woods' next girlfriend. Yeah, I don't think the Giselle Bundchen thing's going to happen. I think Tiger's classy. You know what? Now he's classy. That, like you said, he doesn't like starlets. He doesn't like celebrities.
No.
He wants the girl next door kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think he could go,
he doesn't like
but
that.
I think he wants to go with somebody who's he'll be a little bit more low key.
Yeah, Lindsey Vonn was the last one
He ain't
starting
going
to deal
to
with. And
he ain't going to the Met Gala and stuff.
yeah, remember Lindsey Vonn? Go look at all the athletes Lindsey Vonn dates. Half of them end up injured while they're with Lindsey Vonn.
Yeah.
Happened to J.J. Watt. I think she just wears them dudes out. They can't handle it.
No.
She wears them out, man. I'm telling you.
Backbreaker.
I'm cool. That's probably why they were like, you know what, break. But it's like the Kim Kardashian thing. Like, why do guys keep dating Kim Kardashian? It was like, hey, you're going to see. If it's going to be my downfall, I need to see for myself. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk about the Texans making moves. Oh, screw the Texans. We'll talk to the Cowboys, who actually made a huge move, a splash. Not in free agency, though, via the trade market. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie. I want to put on the horn. Top of the charts Tuesday. My man Patrick, I got to tell you, he's in rare form today. All bangers. I guess that's the theme of Top of the charts Tuesday. All bangers. This one from Dolly Parton. I don't know what year this came out. It came out with the movie, right? Did it come out with the movie?
Came out with the movie. I believe
I don't know
early
when the movie
80s.
came out. I remember I've seen the movie before, but I don't remember when it came out. Early, mid-'80s, somewhere around there. Dolly Parton, one of the most beloved Americans based on Q scores. In Q score history, Q scores are basically favorability ratings, how much people like you, how many people know about you, how many people dislike you. Actually, speaking of Kim Kardashian, a lot of Kim Kardashian jokes on the Specs text line. Appreciate those. She's one of the most disliked celebrities based on Q scores in the history of Q scores. At one time, she was actually more disliked than Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby. And this is after the news broke about Bill Cosby. And ironically, speaking of Bill Cosby, he has the highest Q score, the highest likability, favorability rating in the history of Q scores. Irony. And now, I mean, obviously, he's disgusting and one of the most hated figures in American history, American pop culture. But yeah. So there you go. I don't know why we got off on a random tangent. It's Patrick's fault.
All my fault.
Top of the charts Tuesday. Very eclectic. My favorite musically themed day of the week. Always gets us on tangents, but also broadening our horizons. We appreciate that. Patrick, also the man that broke the news for Cowboys fans, and it was damn good news that the Cowboys made a trade. Traded a 5th-round pick for Stephon Gilmore, the cornerback who was once Defensive Player of the Year from the Colts, and now he is going to shore up that cornerback spot for the Cowboys opposite Trevon Diggs. Remember I told you last year that was your Achilles heel on defense. That was your biggest weakness on defense last year. Kelvin Joseph couldn't figure it out, even though you drafted him. So give the Cowboys props because they foreshadowed this, or foresaw this, I should say. Right? They knew this was a coming issue. That's why they drafted Kelvin Joseph, boss man Fats, in the 2nd round. Just didn't work out. You don't hit on all your draft picks. So that didn't work out. Anthony Brown, he was their best option. He ends up getting hurt. I told y'all was going to miss Anthony Brown. And y'all kept talking about he was trash, he was a bum. And I was like, well, no, because I know some people probably when I played at Texas called me trash and called me a bum too because I wasn't Quentin Jammer or Nathan Vasher. I wasn't as good as those guys. I'll admit that. I was the other corner. I was Anthony Brown in my time. I remember being that guy, and you just get targeted a lot. It's not that you're bad. People just keep throwing at you because they're not going to throw at the other guy who's an all-pro. Right? Or who's an All-American in my case here at Texas. So he was the other corner. So I always took up for Anthony Brown. And I told y'all when he left, I was like, man, y'all going to miss that dude. Well, I wish I wasn't right about it, but I was. They cycled through Kelvin Joseph, Nahshon Wright, Deron Bland went out there for a little while. They brought in Mackenzie Alexander and Kendall Sheffield and Trayvon Mullen just to give them bodies. Remember, they opened the cornerback job up mid-season and said it was open competition. Open competition. It was like week 10, and they were like open competition at cornerback spot opposite Trevon Diggs because they just did. Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know exactly when it is, but it was late. It was after Anthony Brown got hurt, of course. So I don't know exactly when it was, but I remember the headline was that Dan Quinn was opening up the cornerback competition. I was like, wow, that is desperation. So they figured that out. Remember, Xavier Rhodes played the quarterback position too. I want to say they probably had 4 or 5 guys that occupied that cornerback position at one point for the Cowboys, and none of them were able to do the job that Anthony Brown did, and this is a hell of an upgrade over Anthony Brown. So secondary for the Cowboys right now getting a lot of attention. That trade is money. The Cowboys play a ton of man coverage. They're top 5 in the NFL in terms of their man coverage rate. And Stephon Gilmore made his hay, if you will. He won that Defensive Player of the Year, playing his best football and playing a ton of man coverage. So they're top 5 in man-to-man coverage rate. He's going to get back to playing that. The coach played more zone, so kind of taking him out of his comfort zone. And the Cowboys and Dan Quinn, they're gonna maximize his skill set. Dan Quinn's really good at that. Guys are having career years, revitalizing their careers, reinventing their careers under Dan Quinn with the Cowboys. All right, and happening to J-Run Curse, happening to Malik Hooker, specifically in the secondary, and it could end up happening with Stephon Gilmore as well. Hell of a pickup, Cowboys. Well done. Well done. I didn't think they'd do it. I've been criticizing their inability to maximize the trade market and maximize free agency. They still have not touched free agency, really. They signed Donovan Wilson, but that was one of their guys. They love their guys. But this is a hell of a move by the Cowboys, and I do think it's Dan Quinn's influence and I'll get to the safety position here in a second. I think this is Dan Quinn's influence and Dan Quinn getting a lot more say about how to construct this team, because my conspiracy theory, I'm on the grassy knoll here, but I'm not the only one, is that the only reason y'all got Dan Quinn to stay as your defensive coordinator and to remove his name from job openings as he's done over the last couple of years with the Cowboys is because not only he sees something special with the Cowboys. He knows Micah Parsons is a special talent. I think he really enjoys coaching the Cowboys players, and he likes the players he has. But also, I think that there's an understanding behind the scenes between he and Jerry Jones that if this Mike McCarthy experiment doesn't work out, then you are going to be the next coach of the Cowboys. Now, if it does work out and we go to the conference title game and we go to the Super Bowl, everybody wins. Nobody's complaining about that. But if we don't, I'll move on, and I'm moving on to Dan Quinn, baby. That's why defensive moves to start out the NFL offseason, or the NFL New Year, I should say, for the Cowboys. Defensive moves. Stephon Gilmore, a very uncharacteristic trade for the Cowboys, going to get another corner, and then the move to re-sign Donovan Wilson. Like both of them, by the way. Love them. Love them.
And I think this could be, too, that they feel this is a more offensive-heavy draft of guys they like. And they're like, wait a minute, we need to shore up our defense now and then try and go more on the offense and let Mike McCarthy take some of the guys he likes in the offense because we don't want to overpay. We feel the market's too high on wide receivers, so we'd rather draft a wide receiver. We feel the market's too high, that running back, we may want to draft there. We may want to draft some of these offensive positions because we feel like there's too much, but the market's okay on defense, so let's go ahead and shore up this defense that way, which is a better way to build a team of knowing, hey, man, where we're going to put our money and our draft picks. I don't think they've done that in the past, but this one, too, it's funny because I talked yesterday about when you leverage everything into the draft, when you have a bad draft, it can ruin you. Mm-hmm. This is them making up for that Boss Man Fats pick.
Yes.
It's basically them saying, we should have a corner here. If our plan was we would have this corner. So the one trade we're going to make right now is go fill the one position we messed up on the draft.
That's a great point. He'd be on a rookie deal, and you'd already had it done.
Yeah.
He'd be going into his third year or whatever on that rookie deal, and you'd have both your corners basically still on the rookie deal, and you'd have to re-sign Trevon Diggs. But, yeah, that's a great point. At least they admitted it.
Yeah, exactly.
Admit it. Yeah, because you're right about that. Like I said, they thought Boss Man Fats – in 2 years, he'll have that cornerback spot solidified. We won't have to worry about Anthony Brown. They didn't anticipate last year going the way it did. But like I said, I love that move. And honestly, I think I love the Donovan Wilson move more than I love the Stephon Gilmore move. And here's why. Because I have long on this show complained about the Dallas Cowboys and their treatment of the safety position. I do believe they're behind the times when it comes to their valuation of the safety position overall. They don't want to spend draft capital and they don't want to spend salary cap capital on the safety position. And I understand because it's a salary cap league. Salary cap league is a fixed budget. I always compare it to, like all of us, fixed budget. You go to a grocery store, you're shopping, right? You don't have an unlimited budget at the grocery store. You got a fixed budget. And based on that fixed budget, there are some things you're going to splurge on. You're going to get the name brand of this, go get the generic brand of that. All right, I got to get the necessities first. Got to get the eggs and the meat and the bread and the cheese. Get the necessities first. Then I'll get my Oreos and my Bud Light. I might not get the 12-pack. I'll get the 6-pack. Whatever it is, right? We all make those decisions on a fixed budget. That's all a salary cap is. And the Cowboys have decided they want to get the generic brand of safety. That they're not going to spend. They're going to get a discount there. They're not going to spend a lot of draft capital there. Not going to spend a lot of money there. We know this because the stats bear it out, right? Since 2002, Cowboys have only spent one pick in the top 125 picks of any draft on a safety. Since 2013, 75% of the NFL has picked at least one safety in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. The Cowboys are one of 8 who have not. They don't value safety like that. Even their 3 safeties now, they were all bargains. 6th-round pick, Donovan Wilson. You got Malik Hooker, got him off the trash heap, essentially, as a 1-year rental, mercenary deal. J-Run Kearse revitalized his career, resuscitated his career. Now, he's one of the best safeties in the league, but those are all bargains and discounts. And by the way, that methodology for the Cowboys to skimp on the safety position was failing miserably until they acquired Dan Quinn. Think about it. Now they got the best safety trio in the league. First of all, nobody uses safeties more than Dan Quinn. He uses 3 safeties, whether it be a nickel package, 5 DBs, or a down package, 6 DBs. 40% of the time, he's using 3 safeties. I don't think anybody's using 3 safeties like that. And they're all really good. Honestly, the only group of safeties that I was going to put ahead of the Cowboys group of safeties might have been that group from Buffalo. All right, but hell, I don't even think they're together anymore because Jordan Poyer is going to be a free agent. I'm not sure if that's going to last. That Cincinnati Bengals pair was a damn good group of safeties there too. Because now Von Bell and Jesse Bates, both of those guys are gone. I think Seattle's got a really good quandary with is Jamal Adams even still there? I think he is. Just hurt, but they invest in safety. As a matter of fact, John Snyder just said we need to be invested in safety because it helps the versatility of our defense. Same thing with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn right now is he's pioneering deep positionless football on the defensive side of football. Right, Shano's doing it on offense. Shano has got the best positionless football offense in the NFL. Dan Quinn, arguably, best positionless football defense in the NFL. You know what I've said? I've been saying it for 5 years. The future of football is positionless football. It just the NFL. They're just starting to get into it, but they ain't caught up yet. And Dan Quinn, he's a football theorist like myself. I believe he sat down one day and came to the same conclusion I did. I got to go positionless. And he was doing it, by the way, before he got Micah. He was doing that with Devondre Campbell with the Atlanta Falcons. He was doing that. He was, and I believe that guy was an all-pro when he ended up playing for the Packers, but he was experimenting with him in much the very same way that he started experimenting with Micah Parsons. I don't know if it was just serendipity or coincidence that they drafted the best positionless football defender while Dan Quinn was the head coach, the defensive coordinator, but I doubt it. Freudian slip there. But I doubt it. I think this is all deliberate. This is all intentional, and I that's why the three safeties that they use so much, and they signed the other two to 2-year deals. So they have Malik Hooker and they have Jaron Kearse for 1 more year on those deals. But I like the Donovan Wilson signing because the Cowboys, they don't spend a lot of money on safety, and right now I think Malik Hooker and Jaron Kearse are ranked 28th and 33rd in annual value of their annual salary at the safety position. So actually, they're not paying that much for those guys. And then I believe Donovan Wilson puts him right there near the top 20. It's not absurd, though. It's not absurd considering, like I said, you may have the best core of safeties in the league right now. That you're in that conversation. And now with Trevon Diggs, an all-pro corner, and also now with Stephon Gilmore, former Defensive Player of the Year, you're in the conversation for the best secondary in the league because you're 6th defensive back. Your dime package back is Deron Bland, a rookie who had 5 picks this year. It's pretty damn good. Like I said, if I was Cowboys fans, I'd be giddy. You should be.
Yeah. I just love I love the fact that they saw the problem and found a solution to it that when we were talking about it yesterday, it seemed like they had not even made offers. Reports where they had not even made offers to some players. That was a report.
They had zero offers. Yeah.
0 offers. Now the report I've read is they've made offers to Van Der Esch and Williams, but have not made one to Schultz because they basically said, we offered you before a deal we thought was very good and you didn't want that. So you come back to us when you go find your market. But that they had made offers to Donovan Wilson, clearly. Report is they've made one to Van Der Esch and then get Gilmore in. Jerry Jones is awake and making moves in the illegal tampering area.
We're not a weekend at Bernie's situation with Jerry Jones.
He doesn't forget that he wasn't out spring breaking this week.
No, but like I said, I'm surprised. Like I said, all the tracking I've been doing about safety, this is against the norm for the Cowboys of safety, and I do believe it is Dan Quinn influenced. I think the Stephon Gilmore decision was Dan Quinn influenced decision. So I like what the Cowboys have done so far in the legal tampering period. But I'm saying I love that Donovan Wilson signing. They usually let guys, even Jaron Kearse last year, they let him hit the free agent market. They wanted him to go see what he was worth on the free agent market. They allowed him to do that, and I think their belief was the market will bear that he's not worth as much as he thinks he's worth, and he'll come back to the Cowboys if he's getting lowballed. He'll come to us and go, well, if I'm being lowballed, I might as well stay where I am.
Yeah.
They didn't let that happen this time, though. They offered Donovan Wilson before he got a chance to really entertain a lot of offers. That means they really wanted that guy.
Yeah, I think they wanted him. The asking price was not ridiculous, where some of these things you can see and go, look, man, we can't afford to give you $15 a year. For Donovan Wilson, it would have been, we can't afford to give you $12 a year or something like that in some crazy safety deal because you played well, but we're not paying you like a top 5 safety. if we don't feel you're a top 5 safety, we can go get Jordan Poyer for that money.
Yeah, I mean, he led the Cowboys with 77 solo tackles last year at a career-high 5 sacks. I just think they work well together. He works really well in Dan Quinn's system. And why screw that up? I mean, if you're bringing in another safety that's, capable of playing at a high level, he's not comfortable in that system already. So I love the signing. I love what the Cowboys have done. I don't know how often I've said that I love what the Cowboys have done so far this offseason.
Let's hit it again.
What? Get out of here.
Cowboys are signing back Leighton Vander Esch.
Whoa!
Source 7 giving a 2-year deal worth $11 million. Leighton Vander Esch back on the Cowboys.
Get out of here. Come on, Cowboys. I like it.
That's on Ian Rappaport.
That is fantastic.
So we just said some praises, and Jerry Jones is working hard today.
Man,
they're shoring up that defense real quick. I mean, if you're an offensive player, maybe not so much, but defensive end, Dan Quinn working overtime.
Goes to our theory that if the offense underachieves, it's all going to be blamed on Mike McCarthy, even without the weapons. It'll be like, Mike McCarthy, you got to get out. You're fired.
You're
Dan
out of
Quinn,
here.
you get out of there with your defense, which is a top 5 defense. But I would say that defense, though, like I said, it's led the NFL in takeaways in back-to-back seasons. The last time, and we haven't talked enough about that, by the way. We should talk more about it. Because the last time an NFL defense led the NFL in takeaways was the Steel Curtain. They did it 3 years in a row. And the Cowboys can now match the Steel Curtain potentially. That is some rarefied air to be in. Anytime you say the last time something like that was done was the Steel Curtain, and now you can compare your defense, some of their accomplishments to the Steel Curtain, and you're doing something right. And that's what we got going on with Dan Quinn. So I understand why Jerry Jones is probably listening more to Dan Quinn right now than maybe even Mike McCarthy. Wow. I like the move. I love that move, actually, because I said it. You had 2 weaknesses on your defense last year, right? What were the 2 main weaknesses? That corner opposite Trevon Diggs and your rush defense. And the rush defense really suffered. I'm talking about it took a nosedive, a precipitous drop-off when you lost Leighton Vander Esch and when you before you brought in Jonathan Hankins. Brought in Jonathan Hankins, that was big. It really did help. And I think they'll, and Patrick made a good point, they'll find a Jonathan Hankins type if they don't re-sign Jonathan Hankins. They'll get a type like that. They know they need it. Everybody needs that plunger I talked about, right? When the fit hits the shan. So they'll get one of those. Hell, Keandre Coburn can be that guy for them. They can find one in the draft. But the rush defense, like I said, it fell off a cliff when Leighton Vander Esch was hurt. And when Leighton Vander Esch came back, the rush defense, once again, it hit its stride. He was a big part of it. He had his second best year, but he was arguably your most important run defender. And he had I think one of the lowest missed tackle rates in the NFL. He really was, like I said, the MVP when he came to defending the run game, him and Jonathan Hankins. I think that was a smart move, bringing him back, because he also allows you to hybridize Micah Parsons. Without him, you gotta stick Micah Parsons at off-ball linebacker way too often. If you have a stabilizing force at off-ball linebacker, you love Damone Clark, right? You like your young linebackers and Jabril Cox and Damone Clark, but you got LVE there. That means you can move Micah around the chessboard, and it allows you, I mean, he basically allows you to kind of the catalyst, if you will, of the defense, because he allows you to move around your most important and your most impactful chess piece. So I love, man, how many years they say? Just
2 years, I believe.
Okay. All right. Good year. I mean, I don't often praise the Cowboys like this, but I'll give them a lot of credit.
2 years, $11 million.
Some great moves, man. I know they're under the radar for the most part because you're just re-signing your own guys because we like our guys. But those are really important guys, man. Really important.
No, and you've now taken that defense of, well, there's a lot of question marks. So you can't bring back a safety, if you can't bring back a cornerback, if you can't bring back a linebacker. And now you can say, well, maybe you can add the linebacking core. Mm-hmm. Maybe you still need to find somebody on the interior D-line.
Yep, got to find that piece.
That's the one piece that's really missing on this defense right now. But I think now you are doing additions to a really good defense that's already there, as opposed to having to replace.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Cowboys right now, we'll see if, they make any moves actually like outside free agents. They're a homegrown team, though. I point this out before. I'll get into this in Raj round today, though. I mean, these numbers are still true. If you go look at percentage of snaps from last season by homegrown talent, Cowboys lead the NFL. 73% of their snaps, homegrown talent, players they drafted. Philly actually wasn't far behind either. Philly was at 64%. New England was at 64%. If you go look at the salary cap, allocation for players who are the top players acquired via free agency. If you go look at, basically the top 15 players who affect the salary cap or hits against the salary cap, the Cowboys only have 3 of their top 15 that were free agents. That is the lowest number, or at least it was the lowest number in the NFL. They are homegrown. That's what they believe in. So they're going to re-sign their guys, especially when their guys actually are performing at a high level. Leighton Vander Esch, second best year he's had. Donovan Wilson, best year he's had. That's the Cowboy way.
Yeah.
But right now, if I had something to be critical about, I would do it when it comes to the Cowboys. I love these moves, man. These are great moves. And it's all about the defense, which, and I hate to say this, it seems like they may be going to a more ball control. Mike McCarthy's fan, he said, I want to run the ball.
I want to run the ball. Now, you're going to need a running back to do that. But yes, but they want to run the ball. And if you want to take that style, they're leaning more and more that way and bringing back guys. It's been a much better Tuesday for the Cowboys than it was a Monday.
Yeah, and that means they're definitely going to address running back in the draft. Remember, I had the report yesterday, so I can bring back the report, that the Cowboys are looking at they like a running back in the draft, and Bobby Belt says the running back is Rojo. And I think they like him because they don't think they're going to get Bijan. They don't think Bijan's going to be there for him. Honestly, the way it's looking, Bijan could drop.
He might drop.
He could drop because this running back draft is so deep. And we just talked about you can get Zach Evans and Tank Bixby in like the 3rd or the 4th round. You get Rojo in the 3rd or the 4th round, right? Kendrick Miller he'll be a 2nd, 3rd round pick. Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, there's a lot of good running backs in this draft. I didn't even mention Bijan, who's the best one. And Tyjae Spears, that kid out of UCLA. I don't know how to say his last name. Zach, is it Carbonet? I don't know how to say his name, but he's a good player too. And then we talked about the trades. Now Adam Schefter's reporting Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, and Dalvin Cook all are available for a trade. And then the free agent market also loaded with running backs. David Montgomery, Miles Sanders, Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, Jamal Williams, Deontay Foreman. Like I said, it's a really deep running back market right now, period. So the Cowboys, they got to take advantage of that because Tony Pollard's not going to be there for them early on in the season. And, if you want to run the ball, you're going to need multiple running backs. Yeah.
And one of those should not be Zeke.
None of those. Yeah, I agree. None of those should be Zeke.
I mean, when we can list off, we can go, I can name off probably, 10 running backs in the draft that would be a better shot at playing running back better than Zeke did last year.
Amen, brother.
So that's 10 in the draft. There's probably another 10 to 15 free agents, and then there's trade market. So we can say that there is easily over 30 options at running back currently available that are better than Zeke.
I don't honestly.
That makes it really hard for me to believe you should keep Zeke on this roster.
I think you're right. I know a little bit of hyperbole there, but you may not be that far off.
I don't think I'm that far off. If we're going to say 5 available by trade, 4 or 5 available by trade.
Draft is like 10.
At least 10 in the draft.
Like
10 at least 10 in free agency.
I was saying, you're closer than you think. So at this point, I think the Cowboys should move on. They have the most expensive running back room right now in the history of the NFL. That will change, but it needs to change in a hurry. They need to get younger there. But I love what the Cowboys are doing right now on defense. We'll see if they focus more on the offensive side of the ball. We haven't talked about what the Texans have done. We'll get into what the Texans have done. And also, I'll give you a little research project I've been working on about free agency and really the NFL's version of free agency and how it can really be it can be a dark place. Very tempting for teams, but also can lead them down a dark path. We'll talk about that coming back right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my friends over at Apple Leasing because they understand that time is money and they want to save you both. They want to save you time and they want to save you money. They're not going to waste your time. They're not going to waste your money. They do a great job of helping you find the price you want, the payment you want on the car that you want. The professionals over at Apple Leasing can get you a great deal on any car that you want. All it takes is one phone call or one click on Apple Leasing's website and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of your trade-in right over the phone. Apple Leasing's simple interest, easy lease allows you to have a lot more flexibility, which is going to give you more possibilities and options to help you find the vehicle that fits you best, but more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best. Inflation is through the roof. We all know it. We all feel it. It's never been more expensive to buy a new car, buy a used car, buy anything for that matter. So leasing makes more sense than ever. You're only paying for the part of the car you're actually using. So call my friends at Apple Leasing today at 512-346-9977 and let them see how much money they can save you. They get all the same discounts, all the same incentives that the dealers do, except my friends at Apple Leasing, they pass those savings right on to you, the customer. So give them a call, 512-346-9977 or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Getting back to the Cowboys, who've made some moves. And by the way, I was doing some research on the LVE signing and why it was so impactful, because I went and got this from earlier this season when LVE went out for the Cowboys. So success rate is an deep dive kind of analytical statistic. And it's one that's composite, so it's a lot of different things thrown in there. But essentially, it's trying to determine how often a team either on first down gets 50% of the yardage that is needed for the first down. So 50% of the yards, needed to gain a first down. On first down, on second down, it tracks how often, and I think it's like 70% of how often a team, 70% of the yardage they need to gain on second down. So they go from 50% of the yardage needs to gain on first down to 70% of the yards needed to gain on second down. And then third down, it's 100%. So how often you get 100% of the yards needed to gain a first down on third down. So that's basically how the stat works. And they flip it offensive and defensive. So the rushing success rate for the Cowboys on defense with Leighton Vander Esch, 65%. It was second best in the NFL. Defensive rushing success rate with LVE on the field. Without LVE, it dropped to 47%, 32nd. Dead ass last. Their defensive success overall with Leighton Vander Esch on the field, success rate, by the way, is what we're measuring, 61.5%, fourth best in the league. Top 5 defense. Without LVE, dropped to 26th, 55%. Oh, he made a difference. Jonathan Hankins, same thing. Like I said, you need to get a type of Jonathan Hankins. You don't got to get Jonathan Hankins, but you need to have a type like that. Every house needs a plunger. Every defense needs a wide body, double team taking, gap clogging defensive tackle who can just be stout at the point of attack. And they didn't have one last year, and they had to go get Jonathan Hankins. Here's the numbers. Rushing yards allowed with Jonathan Hankins, 3.67. Without Jonathan Hankins, that number rises to 4.53. You're talking about damn near a yard difference. Every house needs a plunger. You better get one. Kendrick Coburn can help you out with that if you need that too. But I like those numbers. That's why I love the moves the Cowboys have made. They're signing their own because we like our guys. And here's why I read this quote for you, why Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones, why they've decided they don't like free agency. Here's the Stephen Jones quote. You're going to pay good players like they're great, average players like they're good, below average players like they're average. It's just not a great way to build a football team. And the Cowboys used to be overly reliant on free agency. Remember? I looked at free agency spending since 2012. And the Cowboys, 2012, they were 10th. 2013, 12th. 2014, they were tied for 11th. 2015, they were tied for 9th. 2016, they were 11th. And my man Patrick pointed this out yesterday. You bring in Will McClay. Will McClay becomes basically the head of player personnel around the time. I think he's the VP. In 2017, you drop to 25th in free agency spending, then 26th, then 20th, 28th, and 19th in 2021. They just don't spend a lot of money in free agency. They don't believe in that. And I'll admit, it is the worst way. You go look at contracts that are signed, looking at wins above replacement, great way to determine value overall. You look at drafted players and wins above replacement, they usually account for around, on average, since 2015, less than 10% of the salary cap, or around 10%, and 38 wins above replacement. You look at unrestricted free agents, accounting for 24% of the salary cap, and yet only 25 wins above replacement. Extending your own players who you drafted who are homegrown, 33 wins above replacement, accounting for less than 19% of the salary cap. You just get way more bang for your buck when you build through the draft and when you re-sign your own guys. That's why the Cowboys are the most homegrown team in the NFL. Goes without saying, 73% of their snaps came from guys who were drafted by the Cowboys. No other team in the NFL has a number that high. Also, you look at free agency spending and players who account for the most salary cap dollars, who are also free agents. Cowboys have the fewest free agents accounting for salary cap dollars. So they're the most homegrown team in the league because they understand they want to build through the most fiscally responsible way to build a team, which is through the draft and undrafted free agents. As a matter of fact, not only are the Cowboys great in the draft, I point this out. Look at undrafted free agency rankings, and the undrafted free agents are basically the penny stocks of the NFL. They were ranked number 1 last year in their undrafted free agency class, number 2 in 2021. They were number 1 in 2020. They were number 9 in 2019. The two talent acquisition areas that they specialize in, they're actually some of the best in the NFL. They're like top 5 in the league. They really are. Problem was they don't exhaust every possible means to acquire talent like they're doing now with the trade for Stephon Gilmore. And honestly, it's because Catboy, he's a little cheap. I would say you can be frugal, don't be cheap. And the free agency game is about spending wisely. I always compare it to how you spend money at a gentleman's club. Right? There's a way to solicit these services at a gentleman's club, and some of them give you more bang for your buck than others. And you can compare it straight to the NFL, right? You go look at the best bang for your buck in a gentleman's club is still, to this day, it's the tip drill, right? The dollar. You go up to the stage, you got your dollar. I haven't been to a gentleman's club in a while, but I'm sure it still works similar to the same way. You go up to the stage with your dollar, and the young lady will give you 30 seconds or a minute of a dance and attention just for $1. $1! It's amazing. Best deal. Still to this day, it's like that Arizona iced tea. Still 99 cents. It's still $1. Inflation has not hit that portion of the gentleman's club, and I love it. It's the best bargain at the gentleman's club. That's the draft. Best bang for your buck. You ain't going to get a better bang for your buck than the NFL draft. All right? Now, the only way you can get a better bang for your buck than that would be if you dating the stripper, which I've also done, and then you get free lap dances, and then, that's like undrafted free agency. I mean, you get undrafted free agents that make your squad, all right? It's like free lap dances, man. That's a better value than even the tip drill. The trade is basically the $20 lap dance. I'm sure that's going up too. But it's a negotiation, just like a trade is. You get to negotiate. You can talk a little bit about this, about that. Oh, not this song, that song. Boom, boom, boom. That's what it is. All right, now that actually is probably one of the more expensive transactions out there. That's what a trade. But free agency, the most expensive means of acquisition in terms of talent. That's like going to the strip club, and y'all have all seen it, and making it rain. I've done that. Yeah, I made it to the league. I had to do it at least once in my life. There's not a more wasteful way to spend your money than to go into a gentleman's club and to make it rain. You get no return on your investment. Not at all. All those little dollars you spent, you could have went up to the stage one at a time and got a minute of free entertainment. All right, of erotic entertainment right there in your face, one-on-one, eye contact, all that stuff. And now you went in and want to make it rain. That's free agency. That's how the Cowboys view it. And they don't want to go to strip club and make it rain. They don't. That's not how they operate. They'd much rather go the fiscally responsible route of draft, undrafted free agency. But my point is, they are right. You shouldn't build a team primarily through free agency. I got numbers, and I'll go over them tomorrow, why that is flawed logic. But you should complement and supplement your roster construction with trades, with the trade market, and with free agency. And the Cowboys, they're using trade market. I like that. They need to use free agency a little bit more, too. And think about it. You got Malik Hooker. You got J-Run Kurtz from free agency. Those guys were diamonds in the rough. Part of your safety core, which is now one of the best in the NFL. All the things the Cowboys just need to do more of some of the things they don't do enough of, right? I always say the Cowboys are good at drafting quarterbacks. They just don't draft enough of them. They drafted the second fewest quarterbacks in the NFL since 1999. So Mike White's a backup for the damn Dolphins right now. That's a Cowboys drafted quarterback. They drafted Dak as a happy accident. He was like Viagra. They didn't know he was going to be great. Turns out, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Drafted him in the 4th round. When they finally draft one, they're actually pretty damn good. Draft more. When they actually make a trade, Amari Cooper, Jonathan Hankins, Stephon Gilmore, they're actually pretty good at it. Trade more. You understand what I'm saying? Do more of these things that actually are leading to success. Like I don't understand why they're so timid with these other means and ways to acquire talent. So more trades for the Cowboys. Be judicious, but still more trades. Be more active. And then they should be more active in free agency. I like that they don't overspend in free agency. I like they don't make it rain in the strip club. But I will need them to go up to the tip drill to the dollar stage every now and then and spend judiciously. and they don't do enough of it. I think they should make sure that the draft is not their only means of talent acquisition. And right now, they're just over leveraged and overly invested in the draft. They need to diversify their means of talent acquisition. All right.
I will tell you, if you get signed to Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, that's like opening a tab at strip club. And you come back, you're like, what is this $78 that's on the strip club tab? Like, oh, the girl bought some drinks for herself.
I've also made that mistake.
Yeah.
Now this is a 10-year-old rule, but I treat the strip clubs like Vegas. I just get cash,
Oh, it's cash
before I
only.
go in, and when I spend that cash, I'm done.
That's the way you got to do it.
If I'm at the ATM in the gentleman's club, something went horribly wrong. So that means that woman is good. She is great at her job. She got me. She convinced me to go to
she's
the
the goat.
ATM. Oh man, that's so Jerry Jones. Dan Quinn is convincing Jerry Jones to go to the ATM in the strip club. Come on now. Ain't happened in a while. It's a beautiful thing. All right, we come back. We'll talk about a little NBA. What the hell is Jason Kidd talking about? Right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. All right, Patrick just continues. He's in his own. I mean, this has been all bangers today. Fantastic. Love that one too. Getting Rick Road, is that the thing?
Yes. I mean, this is not Rick rolling someone,
I know,
just
but
playing the song, but tricking someone into it.
That's
Yes.
what brought it back to
Yes.
prominence, right? Getting Rick Road back in the day. There you go. My man Patrick. Top of the charts Tuesday, playing jams to reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. Okay, real quick, little mini NBA segment here because we haven't talked a ton of NBA because the basketball we're talking about is NCAA tournament basketball. As a matter of fact, next segment, we're getting back to that conversation. We'll talk about the burnt orange Kool-Aid, Texas being, I got to tell you, being the pick to make it to the Final Four by many of the experts. So we'll get into that coming up next segment. But Ja Morant, he is now going to be attending a counseling program, or entered into a counseling program in Florida. We don't know exactly what the reason was for the counseling therapy program and the session. He didn't really reveal that, but it has been revealed that he is seeking help at a retreat at some counseling program in Florida, and there's no timetable for his return to active play. There is even a rumor now, Patrick, that he may not return this season.
Yeah, I think that they're trying to figure it out. I would assume he will be back this season. I don't think that the Grizzlies or him or anybody wants this to go that way. I get that the stories keep coming out. The problem is, I think he's staying in there and trying to let everything come out while he's out, so he can come back after everything's out. I don't think he wants to come back because now they're bringing back a volleyball story about how he was at his sister's volleyball game and someone called his sister a B word, and his whole family went after this person.
Oh, okay.
And then someone swatted a phone out of somebody's hand. And then somebody after the fact added that there was a gun, but was not in any of the initial reports.
Yeah, they said that the police did confirm there was not a gun in that incident. Yeah. Like they didn't have one.
So there are people kind of adding on stuff too. But I think there's probably, he knows, he's like, oh, no, there's a few more things that need to come out first. And then we can go, I can try and, and hopefully he's getting help to figure out, just to stop trying to ruin a good thing he has going.
He's obviously got some demons, which we all do, by the way. Yeah. He's got some demons of some kind. So it's all, listen, therapy, we should all go to therapy. Hopefully it's just good therapy with him getting stuff off his chest and getting some advice, some counsel about how to handle, whether it be mental health issues or, him taking care of himself, stress management, whatever it may be that's leading to these acting out almost. Like, I don't know if you use that term talking about children oftentimes, but he's acting out.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a reason for him acting out in this manner. Okay, I want to play that Jason Kidd sound, so we'll play it next segment if we have time to play the Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd, but the Dallas Mavs are in trouble. They're in trouble. Like I don't see them being able to. I don't think they can resolve whatever's going on right now between Jason Kidd and Kyrie Irving's not the problem. It's Jason Kidd's more the problem right now, which is weird. So anyway, we'll get to that too. We got plenty of time talking NBA. We come back. We got the madness of March that we'll discuss. Talk about how the experts love the Longhorns and why you should be drinking that burnt orange Kool-Aid. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. We were just discussing Will Smith. I don't remember why, though. Oh, Jada Pinkett Smith was one of the ladies who had top odds to be Tiger's next girlfriend. Remember when we did the little Tiger Woods' next girlfriend, the odds, and she was one of the ladies because her and Will Smith, they tell everybody they have an open relationship. You know, the Chris Rock. Have you seen the Chris Rock Netflix special?
I have not watched it yet.
I didn't watch it either, but I saw that one live in Austin, so I didn't have to watch it.
Yeah.
I think I already know all the jokes. And he talks about this because I saw people on social media bring it up. Man, if Will and Jada just weren't so forthcoming and open with their damn business, I don't think it would be such a, it would be such a public shame and a public embarrassment. Because we wouldn't even know all this stuff. But you had to come tell everybody, oh, we got an open relationship and all this. And, she has a podcast talking about how she's banging other people. It's just a lot.
No. And that's the thing is, if they had an open relationship both ways and Will Smith was out there,
he says it's open too.
No, he says that. But do you hear anything about Will Smith getting out there?
There was once a rumor about him and Margot Robbie after one of the movies they filmed, and that's his close. But that was after her rumored, actually that was rumored after her, infidelity.
That's the problem is he needs to go out there and be like, look at my scorecard.
I know.
And then everyone would be like, oh, y'all just freaky. We get it. But this ain't freaky. This is you.
Oh yeah, it seems like you're being cuckolded, but you're not. But you kind of are because I'm with you. Embrace it, and then go out there and start banging
Put
randos.
up Tiger Woods numbers.
Yeah, you're Will Smith.
Yeah.
Come on, I agree. Right now, it's sad, and I think it all goes back to Jada Pinkett and Tupac. I'm not making that up. It's true. It all goes back there. Remember, go Google it. There are articles, which, like I said, volunteering way too much information, where he's talking about how he has insecurity about her longtime friendship relationship with Tupac, and he can never live up to what Tupac was with her. Go Google it. I'm like, why are you telling people this? Why are you telling people that you are insecure about Tupac? He always is insecure about Tupac because Tupac was like a gangster rapper back in the day, and he was a PG-13 rapper, and people always mocked him for that. So he's always had a street cred issue, going back to why he overcompensated by slapping Chris Rock.
You think it's fun when he's hitting on young girls to have to explain that new Fresh Prince thing is actually just a show that he was on, but it was a comedy, and they're like, I don't watch the CW, and he's like, what? No, but there's a whole
they remade it though. Nike be like, that show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I'm the original.
I'm the original. They'd be like, what? And he'd be like, it was before you were born.
You know what? They don't care about that. Leonardo DiCaprio only dates women who are like 20, younger than 25.
He dates women younger than the movie Titanic.
Oh. Yeah. Is that real?
I mean, the movie's 25 years old now, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Even I think I like Leo. Come on, Leo. Date a 30-year-old. What is he like? He's like my age, right? He's like 40, like 45. Come on, man. Date a woman in her 30s. It's great. Trust me. I married one. All right. Let's get to some. First of all, a lot of big stories today. Cowboys made a trade for Stephon Gilmore for a 5th-round pick to the Colts for Stephon Gilmore for their cornerback spot opposite Trevon Diggs. They also re-signed Donovan Wilson to a 3-year deal, essentially $13.5 million guaranteed in the first 2 years of that deal. So it's a great deal for the Cowboys. I think it's a great deal for Donovan Wilson, too. And they re-signed LVE, Leighton Vander Esch, as well. So I love what the Cowboys have done so far in the legal tampering period. Okay, real quick, while we got a little time, because we didn't really talk about the Texans, and we'll get to talking about the Texans later. They traded for Shaq Mason, the right guard from the Bucs. They signed Noah Brown, the former Cowboy, to a 1-year deal. They agreed to terms, I should be saying. Robert Woods to a 2-year deal. Agreed to terms with Mike Boone, the running back, for a 2-year deal. Re-signed center Scott Quisenberry. Agreed to terms with Case Keenum for a 2-year deal. Also, Andrew Beck, lifetime Longhorn Andrew Beck, fullback/tight end. Also agreed to terms with a 1-year deal with the 2-year deal with the Texans, and the Hassan Ridgeway, lifetime Longhorn, agreed to a 1-year deal with the Texans. So he's going to get paid. And also, let me forget about the biggest one, biggest acquisition for the Texans. They agreed to terms with Jimmy Ward, the nickel/slot cornerback/safety. 2 years, $13 million, $6.5 million in that first year. So there you go. Those are the updates on the Texans and the Cowboys and what they've done. Oh, Aaron Rodgers did present a wish list to the Jets about players he would like to play with. On that list was Odell Beckham Jr., Alan Lazard, Mercedes Lewis. What's another one on there, too?
OBJ?
Yes, OBJ. I want to say there's another one that I thought it was
Cobb. We got
yes,
Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb. There you go. Yeah, so there you go. That's the latest on that. Okay.
And he apparently will be on the Pat McAfee show tomorrow. So we will find out if he decides to spill the beans on Pat McAfee or if he just comes on to talk about darkness retreats again.
And you know what? We'll be riveted if he does. We're all going to be glued to it. He knows this, by the way.
Yeah, he knows.
He likes the attention, and damn it, I like giving it to him. Okay, how about this, though? Dickie V. Yeah, that Dickie V. Dick Vitale, LaFonso Ellis, Seth Greenberg, Jay Billis, Reese Davis on the ESPN Bracketology show. They all made their, still a term from Craig Wade, their bracketological prognostications, and they all picked Texas to make the Final Four, along with Jay Wright and Seth Davis. They also picked Texas to make the Final Four. I got to tell you, Patrick, I've never filled out my bracket and been so deliriously drunk on burnt orange Kool-Aid while I do it. Texas is in my Final Four, and I've never felt better about saying it because all the experts agree.
No, I don't know if I've ever filled out a bracket. I don't know if I've ever put Texas as far as I have in this.
I think you're right.
In a one-bracket system. I may have done it when I had 4 brackets or 5, and one was a wish bracket. But I think this is the one bracket where I'm like, this is the furthest I've ever put them.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm with you. So I'm excited about that. We'll talk tons of Texas basketball, obviously, tomorrow and on Thursday. Remember, Thursday, we're going to be out at Round Rock Twin Peaks. So come out there and hang out with us. We'll be having a great time watching all of the tournament action. Coming up next, you got Texas baseball. I believe you're going to have Tom Barfield, Nathan Thornhill on the call.
That is what I heard.
And they're going to be taking on North Dakota State. So Texas baseball coming up next. I want to thank my man Patch for doing a great job as always. Thank you guys for listening. Remember,